The time is nigh. Open up your eyes to see the signs of the time. Got to be wise to all of their lives. Look to the sky from where my help comes. Wake up, got to wake up from the slumber. Don't let them pull you under. Rise up off the water. Never let them wrestle you into the mind.
Yes, greetings, family, and welcome to Politically Incorrect. Greetings in the name of His and Her Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, Empress Wazira Menin, one perfect balance. Yes, family, give me a song check. Because, man, this is crazy. I was getting feedback from so many different angles. You should see me here try to balance it and find out where that's coming from. But welcome to Politically Incorrect, where we are not correct. Feel free to correct us. I'm gonna start first of all by putting the number on the screen off the top. Remember to tune in Politically Incorrect Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Usually at 8, unless for some other unforeseen reason we come on whenever we get here. But we on usually at 8 p.m. sharp. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Y'all already know. Tonight we have a question. Well, I have a question. I don't know if folks respect the question or don't respect the question. My question basically is this the new DLP? And by DLP, perhaps it could be the Despotic Labour Party. Yeah, why am I using that word? Well, that's a familiar word that everybody is using these days. They're referring to Miss Motley as a despot. I'll be very honest. I ain't never heard the word before or not to call it, quite frankly. I never. So when I looked it up, I realized that the despot is someone who is against democracy, someone who's against the democratic practice of doing things, someone who is, a despot. So is the new DLP a despotic Labour Party is my question. And so I'm hoping that my family and friends and colleagues can give us some insight tonight. I have some special guests joining us. They're no strangers, but not to me. In fact, I'm not even going to waste any time. I'm just going to bring them in off the top. We're going to put everything tonight in a very concise and neat package for you to take home, review, and analyze. Because it is emphatically impossible to focus on one side of a story. Well, let me phrase that. It's emphatically impossible to hear two sides of the story from the same individual and come to a fair conclusion. I think you need to have an opposing factor. Well, tonight we're going to hear just that from none other than our own local renegades, as they're recently been dubbed and labeled. I don't know what's up with this. You cannot make this stuff up. But you know what? I told someone once that in the Middle East, anybody who stands up to become a freedom fighter is labeled as a terrorist, which is funny because when America had this civil war, they considered freedom fighters. And I suppose it depends on who's doing the labeling that you're either promoted or seen as somebody in a negative light. But in the reality, anyone who stands up for equal rights and justice, whether they call you a renegade, an outcast, whether they call you a terrorist or mischievous, whatever they choose to call you, what they can't call you is wrong. Having said that, I welcome our very own affiliate, Tyra Trotman, and none other than the elder Undine Whitaker to Politically Incorrect. Welcome. You may have to unmute your mic, both of you.
Good night.
Welcome to Politically Incorrect. You're not here for the first time, but Miss Whitaker, is an absolute honor for me, knowing that I would say Hamila, to have you a part of this platform, this family tonight. Welcome to you both to Politically Incorrect.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes. Actually, the folks keep telling me to bring you back, Tyra. Man, when you bring that lady again, I mean, everyone keep telling me that. I'm like,
after tonight, they got some folks that might tell you never bring her back again.
Nah. Wait, whoa. This is Politically Incorrect. So we ain't got no problem with being wrong. If you can't, I mean, I'm not, look, if I say something that's not accurate, I get a phone call, an inbox to Emmanuel. Remember you said so and so and so and so. Well, and they present the facts and not right. I come on, I share that and correct myself. I ain't got no problem because I mean I don't know it all. I don't present myself as knowing it all. But if you're wrong, you're wrong. But however, Miss Whitaker, if you're right too. And
Correct.
we're gonna get to this tonight. Equal rights and justice. I appreciate what you said to me yesterday, and it was on my mind the entire night. And I say, you know what? Miss Wadike never led me wrong. So we gonna have a conversation. So we're gonna welcome the family as always. They always here with us. And tonight is no exception. Tonight is your opportunity to speak from your perspective on what is going on. So having said that, I see my family is here already. I know Anika, she's without question. She ain't holding no punches. And her uncles, all of them ain't family nor relatives. Them is failures. I ain't touching that. Noel, I see you. Greetings to you too, my brother. We have all kind of folks on here tonight. I don't even know half of them, but nevertheless, we appreciate you. Good night to you too. Heather, I see you as well. Well, this is mostly my family. Shout out to Fade, by the way, in Barbados National Congress. Y'all already know. Sir Alfred, King Alfred, Rastaman viewing. All these folks are in New York. There's a whole Bajan community in New York. Folks from Atlanta call me all morning, want to know what's going on. My thing is, people are asking questions. Tim all the way in Canada, I think it's Montreal, Tim. World is watching. And Barbados cannot be the laughing stock of the world. We're not trying to hear that. Miss Cox, welcome to you. Welcome to you. Manners and respect. And then you see a lot of folks say you're going to recognize, your song is corrected loud and clear. All right. Yeah, I had to fix the mic, man. I was having some problems. Sandra, we see you too. Good night to you. Good night to you too, Sean. We see you. Man, I can't go through all these names tonight at all. It's just way too many. Y'all already know that, man. Empress, we see you as well. Run the lane. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I ain't got to tell you. Good night to you too. Lynch is in the house. Riddick Clark family. Shout out to the family in UK. UK is watching as well. Shout out to Miss Stewart, the matriarch, Jackie as well. Rosemary, we see you. Man, Daffodil, I can't. Andrea, shout out to Black Lion Security as well. Wait a minute. Is this really? Good night, Mr. Blackett. Honorable Stephen Blackett.
A man of principle.
A man of principle. Oh, we gonna get into it tonight. for sure. Oh man, Miss Giddens is with us. Mullins is with us. I can't keep up. There's so many, but nevertheless, welcome to everyone joining us on Politically Incorrect tonight. My elder as well, Mr. Holder. I give thanks for you and your pre-essence. Your presence is important. I think at this point, Miss Wadika was instrumental in my school days. Wait a minute. Somebody here recognize you, Miss Wadika? Someone recognizes you. Maria Paul, she's saying that you were instrumental. The word is, that's a serious instrumental, man. Honors and respect. That's what it's about. When you influence people and generations later, they still remember you and what you've done for them. So that's what we're dealing with tonight, man.
Thank you very kindly, my dear. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, wonderful. Steve, we can't forget you at all, my brother. Peace to the Moors in the UK. Well, anyhow, family, we got to jump into it. We have a full night, a lot of information. And I want to give way to my guests, my honorary guests, Barbados. I got a quote I want to start with, and I was told to give credit to where credit is due. I don't know if I should say this lady's full name because that might start a whole different can of worms, man. And so I'll just Jay Seeley. I'll leave it at that. But she said to me earlier that our standard of excellence has been lowered to the point where we accept mediocrity as quality. I thought that was very profound because it's as if we are no longer expecting excellency from people. We are settling for whatever. And I was like, wow. Wow. She said, our standards of excellency has been lowered to the point where we accept mediocrity as quality. No, man, look, hey. But like I said, her name is Miss Seeley, Jay Seeley. I'll leave it at that. If I say much more, I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to cause problems. But beautiful family, wonderful. Anyhow, having said that, Tyra and Dean Whitaker, I'm going to play something first. In fact, let me just play something first to kind of set the tone. And I think that's important that we do so. So let me go ahead and do just that. So having said that, let me play this particular clip here. I want to go back a little bit and see here. Please be patient with me tonight, family. We have a lot to share. I heard this video clip at the time it was aired. It was a bit fuzzy, and I was a little disappointed because Well, I know what, I'll let it play first and I'll say what I have to say afterwards. Hang on a second. I don't want to play the whole thing, but just what I figure is the most important aspect. Hang on a second.
And chanting and singing.
Let me go back.
And we instruct the public that as soon as the declaration.
Now, one of the things we've got to be mindful of, the quality isn't 100%. I think there's maybe a Wi-Fi issue, but as fate would have it, we can still hear certain parts. So I'll let it play and then we'll get into it.
President and General Secretary were reinstated.
The
action which we're not here to debate this afternoon.
Right.
We're here to indicate to the public what transpired here today. And at the far right of the table, Mr. Quincy Jones, who is conference committee chairperson. Now, you would have heard a report going out on the media earlier today indicating that the expelled President and General Secretary were reinstated. That is absolutely not true. And I am not here to criticize journalism and the content of journalism. But if the media house had double-checked with us, who legitimately held and are holding this conference, they would have discovered the circumstances that led to that false declaration, and they would have understood the circumstances which occurred here today. I am not going to, at length, say to you what happened here today, but I'm going to give a summary. And the brief summary is that when this conference started, it started under the chairmanship, the valid and legitimate chairmanship of President Acting Mr. Andre Worrell, and he was assisted by the General Secretary, as always is the case, Mr. Pedro Shepherd, and at that head table was Mr. Quincy Jones. I want to say to the public that as soon as the and Mr. Quincy Jones was invited to read the standing orders of the conference, as is the normal case. Before Mr. Jones could, a member of the party stood up and said that she was moving a motion for Mr. Walter Maloney to chair the annual conference. Thereafter, there was bedlam. She claimed to have had somebody seconding the motion, and we saw the strangest thing, singing and dancing and chanting and singing. And we instructed members who were not party to that commotion to remain seated and to comport themselves with decorum and decency. And that was the case. While what we call a renegade group invaded the sanctity and the quiet of a conference. They invaded it. That's the term I use. It was invaded by these persons. Mr. Maloney himself came to the high table, grabbed the microphone.
You could stop right there. You could.
Worrell and Shepherd were advised, and I think they acted wisely and with decency, not to join in any commotion. And they did something, whatever they did. That group, you will probably ask me how many they numbered later.
Okay, we won't get into the numbers.
You could stop right. You could stop it right there.
We're gonna pause it right there.
Pause it right there. We can come back because he made several statements in that video that I want to address, but we could do with the first part.
Okay, well, the floor is yours.
Let me tell you what actually happened, right? On Saturday was the what? The
24th.
Saturday, the 24th of August, 2024, was the parties, the annual conferences, first day of business. Friday is the gala, the celebrations, nothing too formal. Friday, Saturday and Sunday are the 2 days of business of the party. Now, I just want to read from the Constitution first because I don't know who is familiar with me and my style, but when I talk or when I speak, I like to speak from a place of authority because nobody is to tell me that I'm fabricating anything, that I'm telling lies, that I'm deceitful. These are not things that I stand by, right? So let me read, and the Constitution, by the way, the Constitution of the Democratic Labour Party is what I'm referring to. And that is available online for those of you watching from home. You can Google it. You can read as I'm reading. I'm not making it up. I have it right here before me. This is what you get when you become a member of the Democratic Labour Party. They call it your passport. And it has in your rules. Now,
well, let me ask one of my inbox crew really quick to search that and send it to me as well. And so go ahead and read for us.
Rule 39 of the Constitution of the Democratic Labour Party. Let me show you how important these 2 days are, right? Business of annual conference. 39A, to receive reports for the past year from the General Council on the program of the party and from the Executive Council on the party's activities during the same period, together with an audited statement. The President and the General Secretary shall respectively present these reports. B, to elect the officers and members of the General Council in accordance with Rules 19, 20, and 21. C, to receive amendments of the Constitution and rules. D, to make declarations of policy. E, to appoint auditors nominated by the Executive Council. And F, to consider any other matter of which at least 30 days notice must be given to the General Secretary. So you see how important this annual conference business is. Yes. Don't think that this is just a gathering, an informal gathering, or a gathering to eat, drink, and be merry. Understand that this conference sets the tone of the following year for the direction of the party. Understand how important this conference is, right? Now, let it be very clear, because Mr. Andre Worrell said, and I don't know who is telling the truth, because Andre Worrell is saying, on one hand, that the motion was not constitutional because it was moved prior to the meeting commencing. He said that several times. The meeting had not even started yet. You just heard Ralph Thorne say, the political leader who was present too, when this conference started, he said that. Not only that, they're also alleging that this renegade group interrupted the conference. How do you interrupt something that did not begin? So let's start there. They already have two versions of events, and this is one side of the story, and they have two versions. So already they are confused. But let me tell you what actually happened.
Okay.
The conference started. Andrea Worrell, he sat, he said, I hereby declare the conference officially commenced. He said that. Thereafter, there was a prayer by one of the members. We bowed our heads. This renegade group, this disorderly renegade group that have no behavior, we bowed our heads and we prayed. We allowed someone to pray for us, right? Thereafter, there was the playing of the national anthem. This renegade group stood at attention and respected the national anthem of Barbados. We stood there and we waited for this anthem to finish play. This renegade group, this group of criminals, right? We then sat, we took our seats, and before Andre Worrell could read the standing orders or the agenda of the annual conference, I stood on a point of order from the floor. I made my way to the microphone, which was provided in the middle of the conference space for those persons not at the head table to speak through. I moved a motion for Andrea Worrell to get up from the head table and as chair of the meeting and be replaced by the second vice president, Mr. Walter Maloney. Andrea Worrell is the fourth vice president. Understand that in the Democratic
Party. Hold on a second. You're saying that the fourth took president over the Second?
Well, this is what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that Andre Worrell, the 4th vice president of the party who had the least amount of votes by the general membership of the party, is supposed to take precedent over the 2nd vice president of the party. Now, does that make any sense to you?
Well, if I got a plan in motion, yeah. If I got a plan.
If you have an ulterior motive.
Well, certainly. So
the motion was moved. Nevertheless, the motion was moved. The motion was seconded. And then the motion was voted upon. But before we even get there, whilst I was speaking, remember, I raised on a point of order. Once a motion, for those not familiar with the procedures of the party, once a point of order has been, once someone gets up and says, I'm trying to move a motion on a point of order, that has to be acknowledged. That motion has to be acknowledged by the chairperson of the meeting. It has to be acknowledged. It cannot be ignored. That motion was seconded, which means someone else got up and I say, I hereby second that motion, a member. My microphone was then cut.
That wasn't said in the media. None of what you're saying was said in the media.
Of course not. Of course not. I was muted. My constitutional right, and I ain't talking about the Democratic Labour Party now. I'm talking about my constitutional right as a citizen of Barbados was violated. And I'm talking about the right freedom of expression. So number one, you violate my constitutional right. Number two, you violate my DLP constitutional right because I am a member of the Democratic Labour Party. Not only a member, but the chairperson of the Young Democrats, the leader of the youth arm of that party.
Okay.
And I rose on a point of order to move a motion before the agenda or the standing orders were read out to have Andre Worrell be replaced by Walter Maloney, who by right has precedence over this man. He is the 2nd vice president.
Wow.
It was ignored. I was muted. That is when you hear now the chants starting. There is a motion on the floor. Play that video, please. There is a motion on the floor. There was a chant.
I like the idea here. I want to drop this really quick. Let me see if I can put this in motion.
Play the clip and let the public judge for themselves because I'm here to give you information and facts. I don't want to sway your mind anyway. You watch and read and listen and come to your own conclusions.
Let me let this one run and then we're going to get to another one.
Very.
Play the other one now. No, that one is when Steve came back. One before is a video I sent you from one of the video cameras from the person's chair.
Let me switch platforms. Hang on.
Because I want y'all to get the inside scoop. Not the scoop the media wants to portray, the inside scoop.
Okay, well, let me play this one now. This is where we kind of branch off a little bit here.
So while you look for that, let me ask yourselves this. The videos you just saw, peoples, you saw persons seated. This is it, yeah. Right. You can pause that. No, We are standing, yes. We are clapping, yes. We are chanting, yes. But nowhere in that video do you see any of us physically assaulting anyone. You do not see us in anyone's face as they're alleging. We are not obstructing anyone from leaving. We are not in anyone's personal space. We are all, even though we are standing, we are all either standing right in front of our seated positions or in the walkway where the microphone that I was talking through was cut. The head table, as you see, we are clear from the head table. The head table is there at the very top with the DLP flag on it. We're nowhere near these people, right? So to say that we are renegades and criminals and, you know, all these things, it's not right. What we simply did was a peaceful protest. It's no different to when there are labor movements, when there are persons outside marching for their rights with placards, or they're circling the compounds, or they go on strikes. It is no different to that. What you saw was a peaceful protest. What you saw.
You mean like Ralph Town walking through Bridgetown with some placards?
What you saw were members exercising their constitutional rights.
Right,
constitutional rights as members of the Democratic Labour Party and rights as citizens of Barbados. That's all that happened there. All that happened there. And let me tell you something. That was only one motion that was moved. So after the motion was moved, seconded, voted on. Now listen to this part. We voted for the motion by a show of hands. By a show of hands. We put our hands in the air and those hands stayed there until there was a head count done. What criminals, renegades, boisterous people, common class people take a vote by putting their hands in the air and staying stationary until those hands have been counted and recorded.
So you're saying that they actually had a hand count?
A hand count, a democratic process.
Okay, wait, hold on a second. Being honest and being fair. You mean like, for example, all in favor say aye, all opposed say nay. Think the ayes have it?
And we even asked for abstentions.
So what was he count? What was he count?
Well, 76 was in favor of the motion. When it was asked if there were any objections, no one raised their hand on the first motion. No one raised their hand. There was one motion that one person raised their hand. I can't remember if it was the second or the third motion, but I believe on the first one, no one raised their hand. We asked if there were any abstentions. No one raised their hand. So therefore, the vote was passed. Remember, this is the annual conference. Remember, this is the majority rules, the membership. This is the highest decision-making body.
Majority rules that's what democracy is. Majority rules.
Correct.
Not
so
what the court say, what the majority has decided. There's a question here being posed by Ms. Hall. Did the court appoint Mr. Andrew Worrell to act as temporary general secretary?
I'm glad that you asked
that decision subsequently was squashed by the court.
Let me tell you, Ms. Hall, I'm an attorney at law by profession. So let me explain the difference between an interim order and a final order. What was handed down by the Chief Justice was an interim order, which means that an order which is only in place until there is a final decision made. The lifespan of an interim order is only until the case has concluded, either by way of withdrawal or naturally by way of the judge handing down a final order. So what was given by the Chief Justice was an interim order for the status quo to remain, which he interpreted to be that Pedro Shepherd and Andrew Worrell remain the acting president and general secretary of the party. And mind you, this group of renegades that he's speaking of, we adhered to the order. We did nothing. We interfered no way. Steve Blackett and Ronnie Yearwood interfered no way. They allowed Pedro Shepherd and Andrew Worrell to carry on. But then what happened is, when the case was adjourned, they returned to court, and then there was to be another adjournment because the Chief Justice gave an advice. This wasn't an order. This was just a by the way advice.
So wait a minute. One second. You saying it wasn't a court order? It was just advice?
This part here that's coming now. Okay. He said, why don't you all solve your matters internally. Solve your matters internally, right? So because of that, the applicants in the case withdrew the matter. I'm hearing talks about, oh, the applicants withdrew the matter because the application was flawed. But the CPR provides.
I heard they lost that court.
The they didn't lose, they withdrew. The CPR provides that any application which is flawed, the court has discretion to allow the party to go and amend the application and bring it back. So if it is that let's believe them, let's believe their story, let's go with their story and say the application was flawed and this is why we withdrew, because we knew we were going to lose. You can amend whatever flaws exist and come back on the next day with an amended statement of claim and an amended application, and then you go forward. It happens all the time. Humans are not thing to errors. We are prone to make errors. That's why that rule exists in the civil procedure rules. The civil procedure rules, what we call the CPR as lawyers, because we understand that humans make mistakes. So the CPR provides some leeway for applicants or attorneys if there is some thing flawed, some errors of something that is not right in the documentation, to go and make the amendments and come back.
I think that a lot of things has happened here that are misunderstood and have been misrepresented. And so what's happening here now is to put forward another version of what we've been hearing, because what we've been hearing has been one-sided for so long. It makes it seem like one group trying to do something to another group and vice versa. And in reality, there are a lot of misunderstanding factors that people generally are not aware of, like what you just said. We weren't even aware because violation of the rules of law in the first place.
Let me tell you why.
You was clapping and singing like you always at church.
Let me tell you why there's a one-sided narrative. Because Ronnie Yearwood, for the most part, and Steve Blackett, for the most part, believe in this thing like Michelle Obama. When they go low, you go high, right? So there has been a long period of time where no one has come up and said anything against these people, anything at all. But there has to come a point in time where the truth has to be told, especially when there's so many untruths out there and so much fabrication of facts. I mean, at the end of the day, I am putting the truth out there and I'm presenting you with evidence. Everything that I say here this evening, I've already given you documentation. Emmanuel, I've provided you with the documentation to support what I am saying. Because at the end of the day, I am not here to persuade or to put anything in anyone's mind or to turn you against anyone. That is not my intention. I merely want the truth to prevail. I'm going to put it out there, the information out there, and you as the public make a decision for yourself. But one thing Tara Trotman will not do, I will not sit down and allow persons to attack the characters of two men that are not deserving of such fatal attacks. They are not deserving of it, and I cannot. It was something that has always been in me from a very, very young age. That's why I decided to become an attorney at law in the first place, and that's why I put myself out there in the political arena. Because I stand up for the rights of persons. I speak for those who feel as though they have no voice. And right now, it's as if Ronnie and Steve are being cornered and backed into a corner. They feel like they have nowhere else to go because the public is not believing them. So I am putting the information out there, and I want you, the public, to decide. Come to your own conclusion. Please, just read the information. Listen, just listen to understand, not to respond, not to be defensive. Come to your own conclusion as to who you think is right in this scenario, because there's right and there's wrong. There's lies and there's truth. There's justice and there's injustice. There's good and there's bad. And that's something that is universal, regardless of whether you are a D, whether you are a B, whether you're an old person, whether you are a young person. There are things in life that are common to all man, or at least I should say they should be common to all man, which is truth, principle, justice, integrity, morality. These are things that people should have within them, regardless of your political background.
Speaking of which, I want to play a clip really quick before I get into the next one. And
look at all these pages.
These are the words on the page. The people that are with me.
Yes.
And I'm with the people of this party.
Yes, that's right.
And we are more than a page. We are on a book called Justice and Democracy.
Yes.
And rights and fair play. And returning happiness to the young people of this country who are fleeing this country, and the ones who are not fleeing are committing suicide. And the ones who are not fleeing or committing suicide are engaging in violence. That is what we are.
Okay, well, the reason I'm putting this here now, and I'm making it very clear, we talk about democracy, rights, and fear. What's for the youth, especially those who are engaging in behaviors, and I'm all for the reconciliation of our young people, especially with the light of all the. I don't even want to call it crime, because I think the crime is being committed against the youths. I think the youths are displaying what they're inheriting from the adults. But that's a whole other conversation. But I'm playing this first because we talk about democracy, we talk about rights, we talk about truth. And having said that, let me play another clip really quick. Let me just add this one.
I am in solidarity with Mr. Black, our General Secretary. The guy behind bars, right on the inside. I can make sure that he get in. You understand? Where God happens.
Always solidarity. Always solidarity.
Don't tell me the senators get excluded.
This is a scene. Well, I got this from Nation News, by the way. Credit to Nation News for they feel away. But this is part of what was going on at the entrance at the headquarters yesterday. In fact, y'all got in the day in front. And in fact, this lady's testimony is very important. I need to pause this here briefly. I need to go back there for a second. What was interesting is that y'all were inside the day in front, and y'all placed a motion according to the rules of law.
Three motions. I haven't gotten to the other two yet, but three motions.
We're gonna definitely get to that. That wasn't recognized. And on the following day now, after Mr. Thorne has made it clear that he's about democracy, rules, rights, here we are, a situation where y'all are being locked out. You're not allowed to come in. I heard this lady speak. I'm gonna let her speak. I'm gonna play this clip, and then we could go and you can explain the rest of it for us.
I never seen nothing like this yet in all my life. I joined this party in 1986. My very first vote went for Peanut Morrison, all my money, and they helped refurbish. And now this morning I'm telling you that you can't get in here. This is Barbados.
I'm the chairperson of the Young Democrats, the leader, the elected leader of the youth arm of this party, and I'm being excluded from entering the premises of the Democratic Party. Never in my almost years, 28 and 29, just no years of living, have I witnessed something like this. This is supposed to be a democratic country. We are supposed to be a democratic party. We have the name in our name, the word in our name, and this is what's happening. And then they expect Barbadians, right-thinking members of society to vote for these people come election day, and you cannot even uphold the constitution of a party. How are you then supposed to uphold the constitution of a country? What message is this sending? And not only that, what message is this sending to the youth?
This is the question that you had posed, and so please continue.
So basically, the reason why I asked that question, because you are saying that you're a man of democracy and rights, and you're for the young people of Barbados, and you understand that the young people are committing suicides and they're being, violent, they're committing crimes and stuff like that. But then you punish me as a young person,
as a young female,
as a young woman, right? Because the day before, I moved a motion exercising my democratic rights, both as a citizen and as a member of the Democratic Labour Party. You punish me the next day by putting my name on a list to have security guards tell me that I am not allowed onto the premises. Now, I did not break and enter onto nobody's premises. And I'm sure you got a picture there that I sent you. I want you to put that up there.
Oh,
and
man.
you judge who real criminals are.
Let me get that going, man. Let me get that going.
I didn't use a crowbar. to break no locks, to enter party premises. I didn't physically assault anyone. There was a general council meeting where a member was physically assaulted by supporters of this man.
Wow. Not cool, man.
Party property was defaced. There was a point in time for our renaming ceremony. Look at that, look at these people, a crowbar. I want you to zoom in because I want you to see the person right there. Look. That person don't look familiar. The person that picking the locks.
Crazy.
The same said acting general secretary of the party. And mind you, Ronnie and Steve did not expel these people for these violations. And they could have. If anything warrants an expulsion, I would say is the offense of a criminal criminal act. But you're calling us the renegades. You're calling us the criminals. I didn't do any of these things, but I was excluded from entering onto party premises because I the motion from the floor democratically. So you are punishing me because I refuse to sit down and allow injustice. And I'm going to get to that because I haven't even gotten to that yet, because I'm going to present the public with the charge sheet, as lawyers will call it, the charge sheet against Ronnie and Steve.
There's a question here.
And then I'm going to bring you the facts.
Go ahead.
After I present you with the charge sheet, I'm going to bring you the facts. And you tell me if those charges on those two charge sheets were warranted. You tell me as John Public.
Okay. There's a question here. Somebody's asking if Ronnie and Mr. Blackett were invited to meet him to settle the issue, and they didn't attend.
I will say this. Ronnie and Steve have always from day one, and I sent you newspaper articles, you can pull them up, where Ronnie said he accepts Ralph with open arms. He said Ralph is going to ease his load. I even have the dates. I have the dates here. February 25th, Nation News reports, Ronnie says Starn helps ease his load. February 12th, Nation News reports, Ronnie is open to Ralph. This is before Ralph even applied to become a member. This was when there were talks, just talks, about him joining or rejoining the Democratic Labour Party. Ronnie has from day one, remember we were in St. John, Ronnie from day one has said, if Ralph comes over, we are going to accept him with open arms. Ronnie has never ever said, and Steve has never ever said, they are not willing to work with Ralph. If there was any refusal or rejection or reluctance to go to any meeting, it would have to have been at a point where it is just how much insult are you going to take? How much blows are you going to take over and over and over? And how many rejections you're going to take over and over and over again? And then still lay there and take them. There has to come a point in time where you say enough is enough. Enough is enough. Ronnie and Steve have always extended the olive branch. Always. I remember I was at the meeting when they were discussing whether or not to allow Ralph back into the party. And none of them had any objections. None of them had any objections. And we always treated Ralph with respect. When he came to our meeting, I think it was in St. John, it was some meeting that Ralph came to, all of us stood from our seated positions and we applauded and we greeted him with applause. There are pictures out there. I didn't send them to you, but there are pictures out there on the internet. Just Google it, where you can see Ronnie embracing Ralph, Steve embracing Ralph. They're holding hands. We were on a good path. We were on a good path. This is where when he disbanded the shadow cast. I'm going to get to that too. In fact, you could leave that right there, because Ralph is talking about wanting to empower young people, right? Now, the shadow cabinet that was formed prior to Ralph's arrival, if not 100%, 97% 95 to 97% of that shadow cabinet were young people. Were young people. So you disbanded us, and then you didn't even give us the courtesy of a phone call. And I never came out, and I never spoke about it publicly. I never uttered anything against the political leader. I continue to respect him as political leader. I continue to be very cordial, very open with him. You can go on my social media pages. Even when there was discord between the two, I begged for there to be unity, even after we were disbanded and not even given the courtesy of a phone call or a meeting. We found out, just like everybody else in Barbados, through the media.
Wow.
We found out just like everybody else. And I want you to play the clip where he says the reason for disbanding the shadow cabinet. I sent you that. He said it made no sense. He said something along the lines, it doesn't suit the purpose or something like that of taking up so many people to shadow the ministries. And there was he gave a whole speech. I sent you that if you could find it. Play it for me.
Let me come now to.
I'll look for it. I love it. Continue. I'll get it in the meantime.
Right? And then thereafter, mind you, before we even get there, before you find the video, I want you to find the gentleman's agreement. Let me see if I can, because I sent you a whole bunch of things. Where's my phone? Let me see if I can.
You keep talking. Just tell me what you're looking for.
Right? This gentleman's agreement. There were 3 things that were agreed on this agreement. Let me just pull it up, because like I said, I want y'all to see the facts. I'm not here to tell lies or anything of the sort.
That's what I'm going to do, Tyra. I'm going to pull up the information and you can speak on it as it appears.
Yes, that makes sense. But I don't want to be all over the place either.
No, but yeah, I'm going to keep it in the in which it was shared.
Let me forward this to you, and so you can pull it up again. Bear with me, public. It is important because I want you all to have the facts. Forward, right? So I sent you it again. So look, this thing here, this gentleman's agreement, and it was reduced into writing. Thank God, right? That some persons have the brain to do these things. And it's dated February 17th, 2024, right? Ralph joined around February 16th, because the Nation reported he rejoined around February 16th. So February 17th, there was an agreement which was reduced into writing. Item 1 on this agreement, he's going to pull it up.
Okay.
It says, the subject is plan of action for discussion. Number 1, written and agreed roles for both the political leader and the president, observing the party's constitution, but setting clear and unmistakable lines of demarcation of their functions within the structure of the party. 2, only functions relating to the parliamentary group and those areas set out in the constitution be allotted to the political leader. All other matters as currently assigned will remain with the president. 3, the shadow cabinet remains intact with the parliamentary team, joining them under the shared chairmanship of both the political leader and the president. Now look at item 3. It was agreed between these gentlemen that the shadow cabinet would remain intact, but that it would share the chairmanship of both the political leader and the president, which means that both the political leader and the president agreed to work together.
Ronnie, I'm not going to type anything more.
Right? Work together so that the shadow cabinet can remain intact and we could continue doing the business of the people of Barbados, because we were doing a good job. Barbados, the Barbadians had a voice. We didn't have any seats in parliament, but there was an opposition voice. We were speaking on important issues, important national issues. We were bringing a lot of things to the forefront, highlighting a lot of things that Barbadians did not even know about, discussing important bills. I remember myself and Felicia Dujon. We spoke on the cybercrime bill, on the child protection bill. Ronnie and myself and Felicia on the cybercrime bill as well. We had the People's House. We had zonal meetings where we would speak on important national issues. We were doing a good job under Ronnie's leadership. And this is why when people say, oh, you so bewitched behind Ronnie, it has nothing to do with Ronnie. It has the principles that he stands for. the direction that he was taking, the Democratic Labour Party, because the Democratic Labour Party suffered a 30 love twice. Barbados had no opposition twice. They spoke, the public spoke twice. They said they don't want these people. They don't want them. So Ronnie, being progressive and having a vision and being a leader, decided, let's revamp the party. Let's bring new talent, new faces, persons who have not done anything to Barbados. We have not wronged. You cannot say that I have stolen any money. You cannot say I've embezzled any public funds. I have never been given the opportunity to represent any constituency in this country and failed them. Me, nor the other shadow ministers that you saw, the prospective young candidates of the Democratic Labour Party. And you disbanded us to now replace us after you had a gentleman's agreement not to touch the shadow cabinet. You broke that agreement, disbanded us, did not give us the courtesy of a phone call or a meeting or even a notice in writing or anything, verbal notice, anything. We found out just like the rest of Barbados. And now you bring back, look at the new, you saw the new shadow cabinet after saying the reason for disbanding the shadow cabinet is because it serves you no purpose. It does not serve the party's purpose. It makes no sense. Not in those exact words, but that's basically what you were saying. So you bring back now a new shadow cabinet with some of the very same people that Barbadians have rejected twice.
That's right. Totally rejected. Let's be clear for the record. Absolutely and totally, without question, rejected. Numbers speak for themselves. Totally. This particular video here speaks to what
play, please do.
But let me come now to how we will organize ourselves. We have 3 parliamentarians, as I said, 1 in the House of Assembly and 2 in the Senate. We propose to, let me say, I don't necessarily believe in the concept of a shadow cabinet. Sometimes I think it is pompous, it is pretentious. And if we are going to be accusing the government, as we still are, of having a cabinet that is too large, I don't think it suits our purpose. And indeed, I think it is contradictory for us to take, if there are 27 ministers, to take up 27 of our people and say, oh, you shadow this one or you shadow that one.
Today, I am pleased to announce a number of official spokespersons for this party as follows. Your humble servant, Ralph Thorne, will speak on finance, the public sector, and urban development. Ms. Berla de Pisa will speak on matters of the Attorney General and Home Affairs. Mr. Ryan Walters will speak on energy, small business development, entrepreneurship, and housing. Did I say Mr. Ryan Walters? Senator Ryan Walters. Mr. David Eswick will speak on economic affairs, international business, and investment.
This speed up having someone look like Hitler. I don't want the boy to think that I'm making him.
Mr. Alvin Toppin will speak on culture.
Sound like Hitler.
Ms. Amoy Gildenborn will speak on agriculture. Mr. Andre Worrell will speak on health. Mr. Andrew Cave will speak on maritime affairs. Ms. Felicia Dujon will speak on education. Mr. Paul Gibson will speak on the environment. Our General Secretary, Mr. Pedro Shepherd, will speak on transport, public works, and rural development. Mr. Neil Marshall will speak on labor and industrial relations.
I will tell you this, man. I can't stomach anymore, me personally speaking, because I have my own opinion. I'll reserve that for the end of the presentation, but there's some more documents we want to go through here. And like I said, I'm gonna pull them up, and let me just pull this one back up. I want to pull them up, and I'm going to roll through them slowly but surely. And I want you to do me a favor here and address some of these. I'm going back to this particular situation here. Let me see how we can get there as quickly as possible. This should be interesting. Let's start with this.
St. Lucia. Oh, I'm
Let's start,
glad you
let's
brought
start
it
with
up.
this. Let's start with this because I
Now,
find that this is quite interesting.
the St. Lucia trip. And I'll tell you why the St. Lucia trip is important. Before we get to the St. Lucia trip, before we get to that email, there's a charge sheet that I sent to you. 2 charge sheets, right?
Okay.
This is why St. Lucia is important. I don't want y'all to think I'm just out here ranting and raving, right? The charge sheet addressed to Mr. Steve Blackett. Let me find it.
This is the one from, well, in fact, the reason why I feel this is important, and there's a lot of speculation, people telling me all kind of stuff about who's funding this group versus another group, and in reality, people are funding. One of the things that happened in the war, in what the World War, was that they said that the Swiss bank funded both sides of the war, Nazi. Because we don't look at it that way, because even in Barbados, in terms of politics, we talk with the Indian community. Everybody else quick to talk with the Indian community, Nobody talks with the white community or the Bajan white community. No one talks about the offshore companies and the corporations that fund both parties, because, like Mr. Busy Williams said, there's a whole pack of beggars. So we know he's friend of all the politicians. But the reason why they fund both sides is because it doesn't matter who gets into the position of administrator, aka politics. The reality is that you got to do the bidding for the people that finance you. I remember one time there was a young man in NASCO showroom advocating for a level playing field because NASCO lost a certain percentage of because the small man bringing in vehicles. So I figured out what happened for a politician to go to NASCO to speak in NASCO to a room about leveling the playing field. It means that, well, you must be an employee of NASCO. So you're not leveling it because of the people. NASCO lost a few sales and you want law to fix it. Straightforward. So bring up the conversation about St. Lucia while I retrieve this.
Right. I just forwarded you the charge sheet against Steve again, right? So that you have it there at your disposal. So I will start to read. This letter is addressed the 18th of May, 2024. And it is signed by Pedro Shepherd, the acting general secretary. And there is an intro, and then it reads that he's further instructed to inform that the General Council has approved the following charges to be laid against you. Now, I don't know which General Council approved it. I'm a member of the General Council. I didn't approve it. So I don't know where the meeting was, when it was, who was there that approved these charges, but certainly I was not present when these charges were approved. Let's just put that out there, right? But anywho, it says that you, Stephen D. Blackett, as General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party, at a meeting of the General Council convened on the 5th day of April 2024 in breach of the rules and or directives of the General Council, the particulars of which are as follows. 1. Misleading the General Council that Mr. Ralph Thorne, as the political leader of the Democratic Labour Party, deliberately refused to attend a meeting convened by the Candidate Selection Committee of the party by failing, refusing, or neglecting to disclose correspondence to the General Secretary that tended to disclose otherwise. Now, I have evidence which suggests otherwise. He was invited, Mr. Ralph Thorne was invited, and he said he does not acknowledge the committee, that is illegal, is unconstitutional, all kind of things, right? I have the evidence. So we're going to get there. 2, failing, refusing, neglected to bring to the attention and reading correspondence received from Mr. Ralph Thorne, political leader of the Democratic Labour Party, to the General Secretary regarding his participation in the Candidate Selection Committee, knowing and or intending that such failure, refusal, negligence would be detrimental to the image and standing of Mr. Thorne, thereby bringing his office into disrepute and being injurious to the principles and general well-being of the party. 3, failing, refusing, neglected to read correspondence received by the party from the United Workers' Party of St. Lucia. This is the party getting to know. Inviting the political leader and president of the Democratic Labour Party, Mr. Ralph Thorne, to attend their anniversary celebration, though being in possession of the same at the material time. Now, let's stop there at number 3. What is being alleged is that Steve had correspondence from the United Workers' Party of St. Lucia, inviting Mr. Thorne to the scandalous trip to St. Lucia that was all on CBC News, And so they're saying that Ralph Thorne never knew about this trip. And basically, Ronnie usurped the position of Ralph Thorne. And he went instead of Ralph Thorne, who was supposed to be there, and blah, blah, blah. Now, I sent you 2 invitations. If you could please pull them up. 2 invitations. One addressed to Mr. Ralph Thorne, and the other addressed to Mr. Ronnie Yearwood. I also sent you the one addressed to Ronnie Yearwood, 26th of March. The one addressed to Ralph Thorne was on the, let me pull it up because I don't want to tell lies. Was on the same 26th of March, right? And it was signed by the Honorable Alan Chasney, political leader, the United Workers' Party. Now, I sent you, this is the one to who? Opposition leader, right? So there was correspondence. So that's an agreed fact. There was correspondence inviting the political leader to this celebration of the 60th anniversary of the United Workers' Party in St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
There was also one, if you could find it, pull up the one addressed to Ronnie Yearwood, because let us settle this. Let us no, that's the complaint. We ain't get there yet. Let us settle this. Let us settle this once and for all. Once and for all. This is the opposition leader again. Let me send. You want me to resend you it? I
gonna look for it. Continue. Oh, you can.
No, there is an email which you pulled up earlier, but there's an email from Janine Girardi, if that's how you pronounce it, sent on Wednesday, the 3rd of April to Mr. Stephen Blackhead. And it reads, "Good day, sir. Please find attached correspondence from the political leader of the United Workers' Party for the urgent attention of the political leader." Now, note these dates for me, please. Wednesday, the 3rd of April, 2024 at 3:16 p.m. This email was received by the General Secretary at the time, Mr. Steve Blackhead. He then sent this email to Ralph Thorne, the political leader, and I also sent you that on the 4th of April, Thursday, the 4th of April, 2024 at 11:41 a.m. It says, "Ralph, good morning. Please see an invitation I extended to you from the opposition leader in St. Lucia." A day later in the morning, 11:41 a.m., the invitation was forwarded to Ralph Thorne. In addition to that, there's a WhatsApp message from Steve to the secretary of the St. Lucian Party. Or was it no, to Mara? It said, "Good morning, Mara. Can you please share Ralph's number with your sister in St. Lucia?" So he was asking Mara to send Ralph's number to the secretary who sent this email in St. Lucia, so that she can make direct contact with Ralph. I'm assuming because Ralph did not respond. Maybe, I don't know. So Steve, what we in law call, took all reasonable steps. That's what we call it in law. Took all reasonable steps to ensure that the email, the invitation was sent to the political leader. He took all reasonable steps. And then we left for St. Lucia on the 5th. Now, I sent you photos with us at the gala. Now, I am sure Alan Chasney is a smart man. And I'm sure he's a man of principle and integrity. If Ronnie was not invited, as these people would claim to be, why was he given, number one, a seat at the head table of the gala with all the other leaders? Why was he allowed to make a presentation? He was allowed to give a speech. He was allowed to address the gala. That's the word I'm looking for. He was allowed to address the gala. Look at us there. Does this picture look like a man that was not invited? When you attend somewhere uninvited, can you stand in a picture like this alongside all the other leaders that were invited? Come on, sometimes you have to pick sense from nonsense. We didn't climb through a window. We didn't come through a back door. Ronnie was invited, and so was Ralph. What Ralph did with his invitation is beyond me. I don't know, but Ronnie decided to accept his invitation. And I attended as the president of the Youth Arm, and there was a table designated for chairpersons and presidents of Youth Arms and other branches. And Stefan was acting in his role as special envoy. He had a right to be there as well. Remember, this was before the shadow cabinet was disbanded. And in any event, even if we had no positions, Ronnie's entitled to take whatever guests he wants to take. It's his right.
The invitation that Ronnie would have received, and in addition to the one that, well, similar basically to what Ralph Thorne would have received, correct?
Both of them received invitations. Both of them.
Okay.
What Juan did with his invitation, I don't know. I can't speculate. But Ronnie decided to act on his, and he attended out of respect and courtesy. And in hopes of forming a brotherhood amongst the leaders of the region, so there could be some firm, and not only the leaders of the oppositions of the region, the opposition parties, the ones not in government. Because when we were there, we learned that there's actually similar troubles happening throughout the region. It's not only Barbados that's going through the issues that we think we are going through alone. We learned that there's actually similar issues happening all throughout the region. So there was an action plan formulated. That is what happened. If someone is not invited, you really think they could stand up in a picture next to people? You think they will be allowed to address the gala? You think we were awarded? I was given an award. I even sent you that picture. I was given an award for best dress runner up.
I heard about it. I heard about it though.
You understand?
It wasn't easy. You can't help yourself. But on a matter of a point of quote unquote point of order, how do we then have all these things happen in the background? The people are being told something different. We meet on the 23rd to have this general conference, which is every year, the annual. And things make a turn to the point where the individuals who are invited to represent a political party are now being locked out of said party. How do you go from one to the other? I mean, that happened really
I'm showing you the background because sometimes in life, you have to go back to come forward.
Okay,
so I'm giving you all the background, the things that have led, because remember, Ronnie and Steve never really came out and addressed these things. Well, I can be the one to address them today. Because like I said, you see my name there, Tyra Trauma, the truth teller. I am here to tell the truth today. Call me the Cat Williams. Call me the Bajan Cat Williams.
Okay.
I am here to tell the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
Well, let's go, man.
I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to gain. You understand? I'm here to tell the truth, and y'all decide whether you want to accept it or not. But I'm here also providing you with receipts and providing you with evidence and support for what I am saying. Right? So that's the St. Lucia trip. Mind you, that's one of the charges on this sheet that Ronnie was supposed to attend for a disciplinary hearing. The next charge that was on the sheet was something to do with the committee, these candidate selection committee. Now, I sent you an email. I sent you a letter where Mr. Thorne, KC, was formally invited to be on this candidate selection committee. The letter is dated March 25th, 2024. And it is written by Stephen Blackett when he was General Secretary. And it is addressed to Mr. Thorne. And it reads, "Dear Comrade Thorne, political leader, the candidate selection process was approved by the councils of our party and also by our annual conference in August 2023. A candidate selection committee forms part of the four-pronged process of candidate selection, which also includes 1, the committee of management of each branch, 2, the executive council, 3, the general council. I am therefore pleased to invite you in your capacity as political leader to sit on the candidate selection committee. The committee currently comprises of, and you have a list of names of persons that the committee comprises of. So he was, remember this committee was established prior to his arrival, but being gracious
as a result of what happened.
Extended an olive branch.
Back in March. That's right.
Steve Blackett extended an invitation to Ralph to join the committee after it was already formed. Now, listen to this. 26th of March 2024, addressed to the General Secretary, Mr. Steve Blackett. There's a letter from Mr. Ralph Thorne Casey saying, "Dear General Secretary, I acknowledge receipt of your letter dated March 25th, 2024. Your missive purports to invite me to sit in my capacity as political leader to sit on the candidate selection committee. I am advised, no, I know who advising him, it might be Hal Gollop, but I am advised to direct you that the committee to which you invite me has no constitutional foundation and is in any event constituted in offense of other legal principle. I therefore further advise that you proceed no further with this committee. I remain willing to further discuss my position with you as we proceed further. So he is telling the administration of the Democratic Labour Party. Now remember, political leader and president and general secretary, these are different roles. President and general secretary are the elective executive. They form part of the elected executive of the Democratic Labour Party. They are the persons in control of the administration of the party's internal affairs. Mr. Thorne, as political leader, his domain is anything parliamentarian, anything to do with policies, anything to do in that domain, which in the gentleman's agreement, they already said that they would make sure that the two roles are kept distinct. So in other words, don't stand up on my toes and I will not stand up on yours. Right? Pretty much. So here he's saying he don't recognize, he's telling the elected executive of this party that he just rejoined that he don't recognize this committee that they established.
I that document that you just read from, and if you could send it forward to me again, that'd be great. Just
the acknowledgement.
Yes.
All right, let me forward it.
In all fairness, I wouldn't want them to say that I am being biased and one-sided.
Good. I forwarded it to you, right?
All right.
Now, thereafter, there is a message. Let me find it. I am here to tell you the truth today. I can forward this to you as well again, so you can pull it up as well, right? Now, public, this is going to take some time. I told you, bear with me if you want to hear the truth. Bear with me.
All right, I see it. I got you.
Now, in a message dated 19th of April, 2024, which is a month later, because remember, he says he was inviting them to further discuss, or whatever the case may be. And just remember the landscape we're operating in, right? We're operating in a climate where Barbados is begging us to announce candidates. Announce candidates. We need to know who we're working with. Announce candidates. So there's pressure to announce candidates. No, you can start to understand why candidates were never announced, right? No. It says, ladies and gentlemen, with regard to the above message, please be advised that according to my recollection, a formal agreement was reached only on the matter of the parliamentary caucus. I saw no accommodation into a candidate selection committee, nor did I seek accommodation into any other party within any other body within the party. I therefore do not consider myself to be part of this candidate selection committee as constituted or at all. Indeed, I expressed my view on this committee in correspondence dated March 26. He's referring to the same correspondence that I just read to the General Secretary. In the letter, I challenged the constitutionality of this committee, and I still do. I cannot be inducted into something, the legality of which I have challenged. Sincerely. So you rejected the invitation. So then how can you in a charge sheet now come in a charge sheet and say that you were never included, that Ronnie never included you, or Steve never included you? Sorry, not Ronnie, because there's a charge sheet against Steve. That Steve never included you or invited you to be a part of a selection committee. That's a lie. So number one, or sorry, I should say that's an untruth. So that is the first untruth. The second untruth was that you never knew about the St. Lucia trade. That's also an untruth. Steve took all reasonable measures to ensure that you were informed and notified of the trade. And then the other charge has something to do with this same committee as well. So you have bogus charges against Steve. And this is for the suspension.
So wait a minute. Let me ask you a question here. So if what you're saying is absolutely truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that the charges that were brought that led to the
suspension,
the initial suspension, which then eventually led to the quote-unquote expulsion. Well, if there's no foundation and you just discredited about so far all of them
against Steve, right?
So how it,
I ain't even really went to Ron yet.
We deal with Steve. We didn't even go get. We just going to deal with one because I am suspecting if the matter is equally the same for one, it's probably the same for the other. So, but if Mr. Blackett, according to what you have said this far, by the way, if you eliminate all that is not truthful, then what you're left with is then the truth. So they made these claims, and I never seen any information about it. I mean, they're always on other platforms. They're free to do so because they're willing to bring the information in the public domain. I saw a video where he read out a number of things, which I played a couple days ago, which I thought was hilarious, quite frankly. But nevertheless, here it is that you're showing receipts that shade differently. So
exactly.
Different than what we were told as a people. Now, if this is indeed the truth, and I'm only saying if because I'm basing it on what you have shared and what is here. If Mr. Thorne is watching, I suspect if he's wise, he would be watching. Then bring forward the other information that refutes this. I mean, we at law. He's a lawyer. Well,
he who alleges must prove. He who alleges must prove.
That's right. That's right. And everybody has the right to face this accuser. So come forward. I can't believe this. You making it see that they made that whole thing up.
No.
What you're saying here literally points as a conspiracy to remove Mr. Blackett, if nobody else.
No, if you were Steve Blackett, and you were being accused of these things, which you know within yourself you did not do, number one. And then number two, you are being asked to appear before a committee, which by the way is a new committee, because this committee of persons did not exist. The members that comprise this committee were appointed by Ralph Thorne. We had a committee, we had a disciplinary committee prior to Ralph Thorne's arrival, which he completely disbanded, just like how he disbanded the shadow cabinet. We never told anybody that he disbanded them. We just all of a sudden saw new names on this committee, and all those persons on the committee, and I sent you correspondence with the names as well. All these persons on this committee have some issue, some personal issue with Steve and Ronnie. So the tribunal is biased, if not apparent, actual. There's bias. So number one, why would you attend before a tribunal that number one was not even constitutionally appointed? Number two, comprises of persons who you know have personal issues against you. And number three, based on meritless grounds. Would you leave your home to go to something like that?
Of course, come on, man. It's in fact, let me go. In fact, this is where now I get to throw my little 2 cents in the ring. I remember when, and again, politically incorrect was present, when Mr. Thorne first crossed the floor and made his first address in Parliament. I think it was 4 or 5 hours, and they all made a joke about it. The next day when he was supposed to return and they were supposed to, respond to what he had claimed, he didn't attend. And he said he wasn't going to go to listen to whatever rhetoric, whatever it is there was. He didn't go because he felt it was pointless to go.
Exactly. And not only that,
situation here.
Would you attend before? Would you go to a court hearing? If a court sends you a summons and the court doesn't exist, a mock court basically sends you a summons, would you go?
No, it's a mock court. I mean, we need to play mock up. That's the school games, man.
Because they were not constitutionally appointed. Now, had the real committee summons him, I am sure Steve would have gone. I'm sure Ronnie would have gone because they're
hold on a minute.
Of character and principle.
Hold on a minute. Let's go back here a minute. You read the Constitution earlier. You're telling me then that the Democratic Labour Party has a whole constitution that outlines rules and regulations for different proceedings and procedures, correct?
Yes.
So if it is then that a small group is then automatically claiming, well, we are now the general conference or whatever they call themselves, and Mr. Blackett has been suspended. Aren't there some sort of rule to
and I'm going to read it, but while I read it, I want you to, I'm going to forward it to you again. Forward. I want you to pull it.
I'm going to get to you in a second because I want to hear your experience yesterday and the day in front. I'm definitely going to come to you in a minute. We're going to deal with it.
Yes, please do so because my charge is dissipating rapidly, so please do so.
Yeah, we'll tell you what, Tyra, you work on that. Miss Whitaker, tell us.
Yes, tell us.
But first of all, welcome again to Politically Incorrect. Like I said, it's an honor to have you. We've done so much work in this country for the youth of this country, saved many youths of this country directly firsthand, over a decade of experience people don't know nothing about. Thank you for the opportunity and welcome to Politically Incorrect, Ms. Whitaker.
Thank you.
Tell us, man, I saw that video and I wasn't pleased. In fact, seeing you down there like that is what really led me to come myself and see what's going on down here, Ms. Whitaker. Well, I don't understand this thing. I mean, I know the others one or two, but seeing you like that, I'd never seen that, Ms. Whitaker. So that tell me, let me go and take a look. Tell us what happened from your experience directly.
Okay, thank you very kindly for giving me the invitation to speak truth to what occurred on Sunday at the Democratic Labour Party gates, because the action took place at the gates of our party, which ironically the night before had been closed with persons on the inside, including members of the police service. We were closed in because there was some matter where the key couldn't have been found, or it seemed as though there was a deliberate attempt to cause confusion at the gate, because we felt that we were on the inside of our party and that we were socializing and just discussing matters after the first day of conference, and that we could have remained there and just relax and talk over matters and so on. Someone decided to close the gate because they felt that we were on the inside too long after we were asked to leave. We were just peacefully discussing our party. When the police officers asked everyone to leave, everyone complied. When we got to the gate was closed along with members of the police service on the inside. That is something I've never known of happening in Barbados. Eventually the gate was open and persons left. On arrival on Sunday morning, I recognized as early as it was that there were persons who were there earlier than, I sort of expected. Although I suspected that there was going to be an earlier appearance because of the events that would have occurred from the Saturday, which Ms. Stroutman spoke to very eloquently and honestly on what occurred on the floor of conference, with persons giving vent to their personal support for Mr. Blackett and Dr. Ronnie Yearwood when a vote was taken. That is what basically occurred, where people have constitutional rights to a vote, to express their opinion through a legally adopted vote for whatever the principle is that they're supporting. And the person supported the return of the two substantive officers to their positions. So on Sunday morning, as I said, I came to the gate, finding it closed, which was a really strange situation, because we have never had a gate closed at any time during our conference. There was also a tent right on the inside by the gate, under which a number of private security guards were found. I sought to get in, and I was asked, "What is your name?" And he asked, "Well, why do I have to give my name? I am a member of this party and have been for years. I have a valid receipt with me to indicate that I am financial, and therefore I don't understand why I am being asked my name." I was told that my name either has to be on a list, or some words to the effect about a list. This list was checked, and it was told I couldn't enter because my name either was on the list or wasn't on the list. Your name determined on or off the list determined whether or not you can enter. The point is, I was not allowed to enter. My headquarters of the Democratic Labour Party that I have worked for and with for over 47 years. And I was indeed saddened to recognize that democracy at that point was in truth and in fact being violated, because members of the Democratic Labour Party who apparently did not find favor with a specific set of persons, possibly the political leader and persons I don't know whom he may have instructed, not to allow people who vented, as you said, their democratic right the day before to give support to a motion that was duly put and adopted, and that persons were the person determined whether they're going to vote for that motion or not. And I think because of that, and I cannot believe that persons, because they were singing and chanting, that would be a reason for persons not being allowed on the inside. I'm sure that everyone who may be watching this video, or persons who have watched any protest, particularly a peaceful protest, it usually is accommodated with a chant or singing or clapping just for the expression of people's strength of view and purpose for giving support to a motion. So I cannot believe that because we were chanting and singing, as they say, that we violated anyone's right that causes not to give entry, to get entry into our conference. Mind you, the conference was filled with people who are not members of the Democratic Labour Party, but they were allowed entry on the inside, and persons who carry members were not allowed.
Can you say that again, because that's a serious indictment. You're saying that the people that were present at the conference were not members of the party?
On the Sunday morning and throughout the day, as far as I am understanding and seeing, that there were persons present who were not members of the Democratic Labour Party, yet they were allowed on the inside. And persons who have worked for years, 40, 50 years, toiling and sacrificing for this party in so many ways. Sacrifice in terms of finances, sacrifice in terms of other moral support, sacrifice their time and energy to this party. We were shut out from the inside of our own party. And it is incomprehensible that this has occurred at this time in Barbados and at this time in the Democratic Labour Party. And it's something that I think that those persons who were involved in that action should really recognize that they have hurt people, they have saddened persons, and they have, as I said, violated the democratic rights. And people are finding it difficult to understand how a party that they have supported, as I said, in some cases going a half a century, mine is around 47 or so years. I was the president of the League of Democratic Youth, which is the group that was formed prior to the Young Dems. The name changed to the Young Dems. And I'm talking about 48 or so years ago, 48, 49 years, when I was the president of the League of Democratic Youth, along with people like Fred Hoyt and those persons, so that we worked at that party, in that party, and for that party from then. So it's going nearly 50 years that I have been working for the Democratic Labour Party. I know it well because my son is 48. And I was in there when he was pregnant with him and before then. So I'm telling you, it is nearly half a century that I would have worked with and for the Democratic Labour Party. So there has to be a major concern. It has to be a major hurt for people to have experienced that on Sunday. And it must be something that must be addressed and must be redressed in some way to those members who felt such hurt on Sunday.
I would admit, Ms. Whitaker, having been there myself, I came a little late in the afternoon. But what was most difficult for me to accept is the fact that people who I recognize and know to be members of the Democratic Party for the years, like yourself and others, and a bunch of other lovely people. I mean, having to camp out, quote unquote, across the street like outcasts, watching a building and an environment that they would have catered to and put their blood, sweat, and tears into. That by itself was damaging. What made it worse for me was when the thunder started to roll and the lightning started to strike and the rain started to pour in such a manner. And someone said to me, well, I was on the inside, by the way. I didn't have any reservation getting in. It was just it was just an open house for me. For some reason, someone said to me, the rain is here to wash away the people outside. And I thought that was a bit disingenuous to say, because I'm thinking, well, these are your colleagues. How would you to think like that is crazy. So I returned back outside. And at that time it was pouring, and I want to definitely give credit where credit is due. I observed Mr. Blackett, interesting man. At one point when the tents was failing and holding up a piece of tarpaulin as best as he can with the hooks breaking off to stop the rain from wetting up the people that were sheltering there, and I thought it was interesting because Blackett's a man I always see him. He always well dressed, got some really fancy looking shoes, all the thing. I tell myself, well, this man here, he ain't soaking wet. And he's not even moving, not flinching. He's standing there holding up that entire time, holding on to a piece of tarpaulin to stop the people that were there from getting wet. And I thought, you know what? That is leadership. To myself, I thought that. I said it to him, this is a test of leadership. We can't say God is not involved in this. We must look at it from a very holistic approach. Yes, a lot of things have been done. Yes, people did this, people said that. All we done do things. The question I was asking, and I did ask this to Mr. Andrew and several others that I engaged with on the inside, including Mr. Eswick. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Eswick. Want to be politically correct. The question is, how can we find an amicable resolution? How can you walk past these individuals that you know and you see and enter this auditorium and have a speech on unity when you literally walk past your own colleagues outside in the pouring rain with no empathy and consideration for their safety? These older folks can't afford to get wet. I mean, pneumonia, all kind of thing going on, and no one cared except Mr. Blackett.
If I may,
tarpaulin up above as many people as he possibly can for the rain coming in. Go ahead, Ms. Whitaker.
Yes, please. You have really brought an interesting scenario which you must give again further explanation and insight too. Now, we, the members, were over on the other side of the road because we sought to give support to again one of the long-standing and hard-working and generous members, the little that she has, but an extremely generous person who provides lunches for purchase to members whenever there's a conference, and over the past period, every Friday and Saturday. That is her livelihood. She has been there when the party was at its lowest ebb. She was there to give support, moral support, to members whose families may have had difficult issues. She herself has had about 3 family members who died, and recently her husband passed as a result of the buildup of distress that she has been having, with one bad scenario after the other, culminating in the death of her husband. She has had a mild stroke. Whether a stroke is mild or not, it is injurious to the body and it damages the body. But this is her livelihood, providing lunch for purchase by members of the party, particularly at annual conference. Would you believe a few days prior to conference that we have been hearing for some time that they were going to ask her to leave the premises where she operates her business? But we couldn't believe that it would actually come true. But a few days before conference would have commenced, she told us that she was asked how she was doing in recognition that she wasn't well, and then she was told, not negotiated with or said anything that would give you the impression that you could ask, I would go and say, for mercy. at least to give me this chance for this period, knowing my circumstances, to cook and sell as she usually do. Would you believe that she was told that the canteen would be used and the facilities would be given to someone else who would then prepare and sell lunches for conference? So you can imagine the blow she received, having sacrificed for years for this party. Recently, when the toilets and the compound was being refurbished, she cooked and gave lunches every day. Not sold, gave lunches every day to the workers of the Democratic Labour Party. So imagine a poor woman providing that service because of the generosity of heart and the love for the party. Having joined it, I think she said in 81, but had been working prior to 81 for the Democratic Labour Party. So she asked then, pitifully, she asked permission to set up by the hut on the inside of the compound. And she was given permission because it is said, she was told, she should not be causing any confusion, or they don't want her to cause any confusion by being any nearer to the major bar area where she normally operates from. So she was given that permission. But during the few days before the start of conference, it appeared as though this was not to be, because she didn't seem to be getting a good response and a positive response to the whole matter. Now, on Friday night, I noticed that 2 tents had been erected quite near to the hut where she should have been operating from, because we worked out that if we could get 2 10 by 10 tents, that we could erect a bar and she would still be on the compound where she would have access to persons who would normally purchase lunches from her. But by the Friday night, we recognized that the space was taken because, as you know, there is not a really, really large compound. So if you put up other tents along with the normal big tent that is up, or we call our party tent, and you take up the space where she was to operate from, she had to find another space because she would have prepared, bought materials, and prepared to cook for Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
She eventually found a place off the road, set up, and the rest, as you were saying now, is history, where we got drenched on Sunday. Drenched on Sunday.
Yeah.
And you were there and you saw the drenching that we got. So you can imagine that most of us there were senior people.
Yep.
Most of us were senior people trying to shelter out of the pouring rain, the lightning and thunder that had been occurring. This is as a result, unfortunately, of the actions and the decisions taken by a group of persons who presently manage and administer our party. And this is what they did to a woman who has sacrificed over years, as it is said, who recently lost her husband and who recently had a health challenge. This is what is occurring. So we were on the outside indeed.
Can I tell you something?
We outside, as the young people say, we outside. We were indeed outside, not because we wanted to, but we were placed and pushed outside.
Can I tell you something, Ms. Whitaker? And yes, what you said is the gospel truth. And I said this to someone there yesterday as well. Maybe it was Udine, I think I mentioned this too. What I saw was loyalty, despite the circumstances, despite all the pouring and drenching and it was soaking. I tell you, my stuff's still outside soaking wet. I saw people who were committed to a cause that did not waver, that stood their ground, despite all the hardship. And I said, you know what? This is strength. And this is what is needed. And by the way, I'm not promoting the LP or BLP, because people always want to know where the money is coming from. My thing is that you told me yesterday, equal rights and justice. What is right, and what is wrong is wrong. And Aunt Rose, somebody told us, I'm going to play that clip in a little while, but my grandmother ain't going to roll in her grave thinking that I saw something like this, and I said nothing. I made every attempt to call Mr. Ralph Thorne yesterday. I spoke to Andy, I think it's Andre is his name, the brother who I made it clear that this has to stop. I spoke to Mr. Eswick as well, indicating the same thing. I spoke to a few individuals and made it clear that this is madness. Mr. Pisa said he had some resolutions that would probably mend this. I don't know if they were heard, if they were shared. I don't know. I maybe she could come on and share as well and bring resolution, because my thing is this. I about one Barbados though. I'm not into all the illusions. I'm not disillusioned anyhow by parties and politics. I get it. I get it. I understand it long time. But Miss Whitaker, like you told me yesterday, right? Right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's what we're dealing with. What was done yesterday to individuals, even if they oppose and had a different opinion to Mr. Thorne and all the others, wrong is wrong though. And then Mr. Thorne is a true leader, a genuine, true, empathetic leader, but firm and honest. Mr. Thorne, how you gonna watch this happen yesterday with these folks outside? Not even say, well, look, y'all disrupt the program like we was trying to do. I get it when outside, but here what? I'm not so cold as to leave these elderly women, these mature men, most with canes and swollen ankles from being on their feet most of the day because they were locked out by security guards. Imagine that. Security guards that work for the DLP told DLP members that they can't come in.
Let me say, please let me clarify that. As people say, the guards were following the instructions of persons who seem to believe that they have the authority to do what they did. I personally heard a member of the party saying, when another one wanted and did let in some people, Pedro Shepherd sought to get some people in, including myself. And he said, oh no, at this stage of my life, having given so much and sacrificed so much for the DLP, nobody is going to tell me when I can enter or when I can't enter on a favor. This is no favor to be given to members. We either are should be legally allowed inside based on the fact that we are members, that we had a valid passport and receipt that granted us the financial status to enter. So when at some point some persons were allowed in on age or beauty, that's the only criteria that I could be thinking of, that they were let in, that person, Pedro, was sharply reprimanded by the female who seemed to have the total responsibility and authority. Now that same female, pictures will show that she was chaining up the DLP on an occasion when we were seeking to make a change to the name of the Errol Barrow Auditorium. She felt strongly about it, she and others, and they came to our headquarters and they chained up the gate. Nothing happened to them in terms of whatever you may have wanted to deal with them, reprimand them, to warn them, to expel them, to suspend them. Nothing along those lines were done. No disciplinary committee, did that to them. They didn't suspend them. They weren't expelled. And they violated the premises of the party. We didn't violate. We only sought to get into the institution that we have given support to all the past, they said, 50 plus years. So look at the differences between how people have been operating and are now operating in terms of their authority. There's no empathy for anyone.
Nope.
As long as they don't toe the line to the persons whom they think should be the persons who should be in charge. And persons like, if you support Dr. Ronnie Yearwood and Mr. Steve Blackie, you are to be just thrown aside and your character destroyed and your years of service to this party wiped off your slate, and you are being categorized and characterized as no one, and that you're a bad person and you're a renegade. I'm glad that you remember the words that people have been called. Someone else called me yesterday a man of authority as well, and a man for whom I've looked up to for years in the trade union movement. He called me a spy, a traitor, and a vagabond. Those are the words that were used to me as well, because I stand up and he spoke vehemently. Because as I said, I'm a passionate person. People who know me from the trade union know I have always stood for principle and have spoken it strongly. And because I also spoke strongly yesterday on a similar matter of principle, I was called a spy, a vagabond, and a traitor. So this seems to be the trend that is unfortunately happening in my beloved party, to which I still love and still remain loyal. But at some time, you have to recognize when right is right and wrong is wrong, and you got to speak to it.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I want to commend you also for having the courage to speak truth to power, because it seems as if, like Miss Montley, a lot of people are afraid to tell Ralph he wrong. And I'm saying it right here very plainly. I have no problem with anybody disagreeing with me if I was in his shoes. However, again, an act of a good leader would have determined that despite all that was going on, these are members outside locked out. The list that the people had at the gate, I wonder who compiled that list. If I had to answer
the question you asked.
Man, that a question. I did answer the question. I did answer the question. In fact, I know exactly who compiled the list. I was told. It was said to me by someone who I felt would know. You know, my uncle always said, wisdom is known not by the answers you give, but by the questions you answer. Shout to Uncle Erskine, by the way, a real giant. These cats saying giants, so that's walking on stilts. A lot of them got short man complex. I see that. But here's the problem. Barbados as a nation right now, everybody's blaming the government. In fact, I wrote a note here, and I want to be able to quote this on the record. You know, all political parties have perpetually and systematically failed the people. One after the other, we have found ourselves in a worse case as the what we call, quote unquote, you know, the politics is always for the poor people. For the poor people. Name the poor people that has excelled beyond poor and impoverishedness as a result of a party. It has always been the same. The rich get richer and the poor simply suffer. So we're not going to get here and point BLP, DLP. We have played political ping pong since independence. We ain't going to do that. We ain't going to act like this is what's going on. I am simply saying right here what's happening inside the Democratic Labour Party since this new party has formed inside the old party, almost like some secret society. The reality is it's a hostile takeover. I will admit
exactly what it is.
I will admit to you, Miss Whitaker, and I don't say this lightly. I stood there yesterday in part, and I heard Mr. Thorne speak. And I mean, I'm not impressed by words. I mean, I know a few orators. My family is comprised of a few myself. I've learned from the best, quite frankly. So I'm not impressed by the words or the intonations or the terms or the quotes. I deal with the energy, and I'll be honest. Based on what I felt yesterday, this is happening, Miss Whitaker. This is happening. And as far as I'm concerned, the only way that this is going to stop is like I told someone, sometimes you have to give Paul enough, everybody like quoting scripture, right? Sometimes you have to give Paul enough room to fall on his own sword, man. And in reality, right now, rather than fight in-house, the sister brought the facts forward and she got a few more to share, and I got 1 or 2 videos I'm definitely going to play. We ain't done yet for the night, family. I'm definitely going to play a few videos, and we definitely going to get into some more receipts. Once we put this out there, that's it. You can no longer say you did not know. You can no longer say, I said to someone earlier, as a man, I don't question Ralph Thorne. A man is a man. I don't question a man, but I have some questions for Mr. Thorne based on his maneuvering across the floor and how it happened. I got some questions though. I don't, and I'd surprise the DLP and ask the kind of question, Ronnie, and I not casting blame, but I told Ronnie once, you need to be a bit more forward in your militancy because, you know, recognizing what's going on in your party, you got to step up. Yeah, the people love you and all that. Yeah, but you can't send a lamb to do a lion's job. They made fun of the peas and call her, what do you call her, a chihuahua? All right, between two pit bulls. No, a pit bull and a Rottweiler. In reality, you got some big dogs that don't bite. And you got some chihuahuas that would chase you about. So we ain't dealing with the semantics and the antics and the labeling. What I'm saying, though, is that we need to recognize that there are people in the community who need help. And you can't wait till Ms. Motley call, election, to then jump out there with placards, talk about you know in the community. If you are involved in any political party and your party ran an election and lost for sake of argument, 30 love, not once, but once and twice, not once but twice. It doesn't mean you're supposed to abandon your people in the community because you ain't get elected. So if it was only one person that still went and supported you, you owe it to that individual to support them, and by extension, everybody else in the same community. Don't tell me you busy or whatever. They don't show up. All the Lashleys and all of them, all the Joneses and all of them. I could talk. Cats ain't built like that. They ain't real like that. People they can't even bring together people right now to say that they support them. They don't check for nobody. So if I was Mr. Thorne, if I was Mr. Ronnie, involved in any one of these political ping pong moments right now, the story in the Bible about two women, two mothers to be exact. They had a baby. I know what deal they make in the middle of the night, but long story short story long, somebody child went missing. So they gone before the King Solomon and they sought his wisdom. One mother said, it belongs to me. It belongs to me. The child is mine. The party belongs to me. The other mother indicated, well, it's my child. I give birth. This is my child. This is my child. So Solomon decided, you know what? I can't figure this out. So what we're going to do is we can cut it in half. We can split it down the middle. I will give one half to one mother, and I'll give the other half to the other mother. And the both of you can go and bury the dead child. Go bury the dead Labour Party. But one mother, the true mother, a mother that would rather see her child grow, even if it's growing in such a way where it's an eagle amongst chickens, hoping that one day it will come to the realization that it is not a chicken and fly and soar like an eagle. I'd rather see my child whole and hope than to bury it for sure. Well, neither Ronnie nor Ralph up to this point has done so, and I think this has gone too far. I think it has gone too far. When I watched Miss Whitaker and all the other people yesterday in that rain, pouring, sheltering under the back of a van as best they can, under a tent, tarpaulin blowing and popping off, Mr. Blackett trying his best with his fancy shoes, soaking wet to hold it up. I said to myself, no, this is leadership. He could have gone in. In fact, he was about to leave before the rain came. He only came back to collect some cheers. But when the rain started to fall, he could have run back to his vehicle and got in and left as his intentions were, but he stayed. In fact, he stayed until the rain stopped. And I just responding to what I saw myself. And while we outside sheltering from the rain, Mr. Thorne was giving his eloquent speech to a room that was engaged in his rhetoric. This is my best interpretation of his tone.
And nevertheless, I would like to add a room full of non-members of the Democratic Labour Party. So you're excluding financial members and members of the executive of the Democratic Labour Party, and you are giving your glorious speech in a room full of non-members. And if you look closely, you would see persons who you could basically say the party now belongs to Marcia Weeks. Well, because it was Marcia Weeks and her supporters. I will say it was Marcia Weeks and her supporters that filled that room. If you look at the videos from the morning time when the room barely had 20 people, and then Mr. Thorne left and he returned in his suit to give his glorious speech, all of a sudden the room was now packed with non-members.
Well, in all fairness, right, and this is me being politically incorrect, Miss Marcia Weeks had done a lot of work in the community. I'm aware of that. I am aware of her involvement with Mr. Thorne and the others as the opposition, although I have my reservations with the term as well. Nevertheless, I don't know this for a fact. I'm taking your word because you would know who.
I would know who are members from who are not members. And this is nothing against Marcia Weeks, don't get me wrong.
Of course not. But facts is facts, though.
But at the end of the day, how are you excluding financial members but including non-members? It has to make sense. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Back to the same thing. Right and wrong. Right and wrong. Those are the principles on which we should be operating. Members get shut out, got drenched, had to find a space to keep the feet. You know, this morning, Heather's ankles were indeed swollen. She had, when I heard Heather, she was crying because she was looking to get a fax from yesterday's wet conditions that she was in all day yesterday. Am I on Sunday? Yeah. Yeah, yesterday, Heather's ankles were swollen. She had to go and purchase ice packs to deal with her ankles today. This is as a result of being shut out of the canteen that she has been operating, as I said, for years, and providing lunch, particularly at conference. We just go and enjoy having lunch. We just order the pork chops and the chicken and whatever you could get at that canteen. We didn't have that luxury this time. Scotching in the corner in pouring rain.
Serious. No,
after being in the hot sun, because the sun was very hot first.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have any umbrellas or anything of the sort. And then the rain fell. So when you have that mixture of hot and then cold, you know what can happen to elderly persons? They can suffer stroke.
From this morning, my voice was not as it is. It was husky. And I heard Jeanette also this morning, and her voice was husky. Well, they have cleared up a bit during the day, but this morning, in truth and in fact, the combination of, as you say, that hot sun, walking towards the gate to give support to the persons who were trying to get in. You can imagine long-standing members of his party ducking down between. Sister Irene got in because she was persistent in ducking down between the railings. As one person went in, she managed to get in, and then had to sort of give explanation to the police. A former Senator, Irene Sanford-Garner, had to give explanation to the police, possibly so that she wouldn't have been arrested. This is where the lengths that it went to on yesterday. Can you imagine?
Yeah, and then I'm being informed because obviously bathroom facilities are located inside of the premises.
Oh man, don't even.
So I'm being informed that persons had to degrade themselves and use bottles and all kind of other things to pass water. And I mean, that is inhumane. It is inhumane. It is not right. It is not right.
I know the name of the woman who stood by the gate and pleaded to get inside because she wanted to go to the bathroom. Pleaded to get inside. A senior woman of my age or more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 73. And she was past, I know she was a bit older than 73. And she pleaded at that gate, as Bajans would say, like a dog, to get inside.
Yes, I witnessed that. I definitely witnessed that. If not for that gentleman, I think his name is Richard Seeley, is his name?
Richard Seeley. She got it through Richard Seeley.
If not for Richard Seeley, she was
because
not.
It seemed as though they didn't want to allow Richard Seeley to get in either. Former minister and, again, a stalwart of this party.
So it seems anyone associated with Ronnie Yearwood and Steve Blackett seem to have been on that list of persons who were not being allowed in the party premises. That is what it looks like. But you have a man who came on video and he talks about democracy, he talks about justice, he talks about rights, but then you are bullying persons who do not necessarily align with your vision or how you want to take the party forward. And I mean, it's natural for persons to disagree. You don't agree on everything. Persons I work with don't agree with me on everything, but I'm not going to bully them or lock them out or physically assault or go out there and slander their names. You don't do those things. Those are not nice things to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, again, if yesterday was any indication of the kind of prime minister Mr. Thorne is going to make, because folks disagree with him, because folks challenge him, because folks question his ego to some degree where he feels that he has to exercise, quote unquote, his presumed and self-imposed authority. Well, you know, I told someone better, they call me a demon. You know, I don't call people names, but they say, you know, they say that they call her demon. I rather the demon I know than the one I don't, because that behavior is a clear indication that Mr. Thorne maybe has to relook and rethink things. In fact, I want to play a video if I can. Let me see if I can find it first. Not if I can find it. I know it is. I like this one though. I definitely like this one here. I want to play this here, Tyra, if you would allow me to.
Go ahead.
Me see how I could finagle this real quick here now.
Wait, while you look for that video, let me just add, and a perfect example of that. We just heard that Trisha Watson is being fired from the Senate.
Yo, I can't believe that. Yo, I cannot believe that. I'm telling you, you made that up, Tyra.
Bajans cannot believe it. Bajans cannot believe it. A woman of integrity, intelligence, who has stood up for the poor Barbadian working woman, who will have to determine when what amount of her light bill she can pay and what has to be devoted to food and to looking after her children. And she has been able to keep the levels at a rate where at least they may be manageable. And because, again, she does not toe the line and she does not sing all hail to the leader, it seems, she has been fired. What a despicable act that has occurred in our country under democracy or Democratic Party.
Once again, not informed. She has not been informed. She found out like everybody else in Barbados. This seems to be the style of Mr. Thorne.
That is humiliation.
No courtesy call, no notice in writing, no meeting, nothing after Trisha Watson has worked so hard in the Senate because out of the two senators, who works the hardest? Who works the hardest?
Wow. Listen, I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I be straight up right now, transparency, but not everything, but most things. Everything for everybody. I messaged her myself a few weeks ago and I reached out to her because, in fact, a few years ago, I reached out to her because I was always impressed with how she works, how she delivers. So this is a Ralph Thorne thing. I've been supporting that young lady in what she's doing, full support. And when I started doing the work, I'm like, like I ain't gonna even front. I was inspired by her to start to attend Parliament. And I've already decided I'm going to definitely step in there at some point in time. I ain't sure yet when, like that because of her. But no, what you saying to me is that, he ain't fired her. Maybe he's reshuffling his cabinet. Maybe she's going to get appointed to some other role, like maybe vice president or something. Maybe because she put in a lot more work than a lot of other names. I ain't want to call your name, but I got your message earlier. And although you delete the messages, I did see them. And now you know who I'm talking about. I can leave it at that for now. But don't play that kind of game. Don't play that with me.
When Barbadians see the replacement, some people follow this here.
No, not her.
I won't ruin the surprise. I'm not gonna ruin the surprise for Barbadians. But just know, that person is nowhere near the caliber of Miss Watson. Nowhere near the caliber.
You're making this up. You're making this up, man. If I see her get replaced, I'm telling you, man, Mr. Thorne, I would know then for a fact that this video is the truth. Let me go ahead and just play this video. Let me add this real quick to the stage, man. Wait, let me just record
somebody advising you wrong. They can't be your friend.
I gotta play that. No, I gotta play it again.
Somebody advising you wrong. They can't be your friend.
But yet we are the renegades. We are the criminals. We are the common class persons.
Listen to me.
Have no decency, no behavior. But we've never done something like this before.
Barbados is not, clearly, right? Again, I ain't supporting the party. I dealing with the facts. The facts is, man, maybe she made a different, maybe something happened that we don't know about. Maybe she crossed floors and she rolling with me a mountain now. Maybe. So maybe his decision is based on information that he might have that we don't have. So I don't think Thorne is going to shoot himself in the leg so early in his political attempt to be prime minister, because trust me, he will be the shortest one in history, no pun intended, to ever have that experience. I'm telling you. Look, me and Martin must be rolling right now. You cannot make this up.
Let me tell you, time is a revealer of all things. And let me tell you something, Trisha, I know Trisha is a very stand-up woman. And I know she's not a woman who's just going to just abide by something because you have some sort of superiority over her. it has to make sense for her. She's always been someone to fight for the people of Barbados. So to fire her just because she had some sort of disagreement with you or disagreement with an approach that you were taking is a slap in the face, especially, mind you, now let's look at Trisha Watson again. Trisha has been working hard during a period where she should have been grieving for the passing of her father. Remember, not too long ago, her father just passed away, you know?
Yes.
And she still showed up to work. She still showed up to work when she should have been crawled up, balled up in her bed, grieving. She showed up to Parliament. She did the work for the people of Barbados, and you are going to fire somebody like that? Well, what does this say once again for young people? What does this say to women? Is it true then that the Democratic Labour Party does not respect women? I would hate for that to be so. I would hate for that to be so.
Speaking of women and wrong, someone is saying, and if you believe something just because Tyra said it, then get through, boss. I don't know.
Tyra has been producing receipts. So like I said, I'm not here to tell you, believe me. I'm here to present you with the information and evidence in support of that information. And you decide for yourself whether you think it's something that I have fabricated. I mean, if I fabricate all these things, I really have a lot of time on my hands.
One, only that, a lot of legal matters come in your direction too, because I mean, you're dealing with lawyers who claim to be lawyers. So we're going to see just now.
God be the mastermind of all masterminds, right?
Then you need to be the leader of the party then, clearly.
I am coming with facts. I'm telling you, it's up to you whether you want to believe me or not. And I said this, and I'm gonna say on here, this is not about being a woman scorned or being a sour grape or anything of the sort. I am presenting you with this information, and then I am going to leave it alone. I will have nothing else to say on it. I'm giving you the information, and then I am leaving it alone. Leaving it alone. I'm going on vacation in 2 days. When I return from my vacation, I am not going to have anything else to say on this issue, because it's going to be up to you, the public, to decide whether or not you support the current leadership of the Democratic Labour Party or whether you prefer the previous leadership, the duly elected previous leadership of the Democratic Labour Party. It's up to you.
I'm going to say this, if nothing else, and because, you know, it's so funny. There's something called cognitive dissonance. And we as a people are so traumatized that even if you are faced with, I mean, we tend to do things based on what we like. So we don't like Mia. So we like anybody who speaks against Mia. So we don't like this body. So we like anybody who goes against this body. I mean, so now in this case,
and that's why I will not be going back and forth, because at the end of the day, a wise person once said, persons will believe what they want to believe. So me trying to convince someone who wants to believe that Ronnie and Steve are these bad, evil persons is a waste of time. Persons who are right thinking out there and who can see things from an unbiased perspective, they will see what the truth is. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm not going to waste my time going back and forth with people. I am here to give you the facts, to give you information supported by evidence, and you decide for yourselves who's telling the truth.
Miss Whitaker just went, which is interesting because I was going to ask her a question. Someone actually posted a question here for her. Her body was dying. She did say her body was dying.
Yeah.
When she comes back in, I'll post it. They said Onion Whiteheader went and removed the burners from the stove. Maybe because she bought them. You ever thought of that? I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure, because if I was going to sabotage anything, I might have cut the gas line if I was going to be diabolical. But to remove a burner, like that don't stop the stove from working. But maybe she bought the burners for the stove when you told her she can no longer use it. I don't know. My point is, come on, man. That's what we're focusing on. She moved the burners. How about the question is why they move her in the first place? That should have been your question. I'm not knocking your question, and I'm sure it's relevant. But if you're going to be fair, again, this in the other shows, it's politically incorrect. This is a program. We're dealing with a certain order. If we're going to be fair, we're going to be fair. Answer your question, but to me, the first question is, why did they move her? We could ask her when she moved the burners, because I think it's relevant. Because if they're not yours, she stole, and she shouldn't have done that. I agree. But the first question should have been, why did they move her? That's all.
An elderly lady who just lost her husband, and we don't even know how she's making money to survive right now. Why would you do that to someone just because you think they're aligned with with the other side.
The other side. What other side is on it? What other side? What other side? All the DLP members. Where's the other side? What? How
That's why from day one, as the person from the youth side of things, I've always been preaching for unity. If you go on my social media page, you will see photographs where it is me, Ralph, and Ronnie in Parliament Yard. You will see photographs. You will see messaging out there, me begging for unity. By the end of the day, unity takes two persons, two sides to come together and act. And if it is, I know for a fact that Ronnie and Steve have been extending the olive branch. I know that part for a fact. I can't say the same for the other side. I can't say the same for the other side. Right?
I like this comment. Well, somebody's saying Tyrick cannot convince me on nothing. She sounds like a tyrant. I don't know if she was trying to convince anyone of anything here. To my understanding, she just shared information that wasn't commonly known. So that's all it is. But far as convincing anyone, I don't even try to convince anyone. I only share information. That's what I do. So someone is saying, please leave it alone. And I totally agree with you when you turn the news.
I'm gonna leave it because it doesn't serve me any purpose. Like I said, I have nothing to gain from this whole thing and I have nothing to lose. At the end of the day, my thing has always been representing the people of Barbados. I've always said I do not care for party politics. For me, it is about principle, it's about policies, and it's about people. That has always been my take, has always been my view. That's me, right? I want to go back though to the question before this, so that I never asked it about the Constitution, dealing with you asked which rule basically grounds for the composition of the disciplinary committee. I think that's where we left off before Sister Undine had joined, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Rule 34, and like I said, the Constitution of the Democratic Labour Party is available online. It's not a secret. You can go, you can check it out yourself. Rule 34 says that there shall be a standing committee responsible for grievance handling and a standing committee for discipline. Rule 34(1) says each committee shall be composed of a minimum of 5 members, each one of whom shall be a member of the Executive Council, the Young Democrats, and the Democratic League of Women, elected by the General Council for 2 years in each instance. 2 years. In each instance. Now, remember, I started off by saying there was a committee already elected, and the head of that was Ricky Harrison. Many of you might know him from politics, as he's been out there. He's been a candidate before, and he was the chair of that committee. So if you don't believe me, you can reach out to him and ask him. And he was supposed to be. This committee was supposed to be established for a period of 2 years. So how it is then that all of a sudden there is a new committee? You're breaking the rules. You're breaking the rules of the Constitution. And the only way that this rule could have been changed would be by way of annual conference. Because like I read the rule before, annual conference is the place where if there are any rules that the party feels like should be suspended or overturned or disbanded or whatever, that's the place to move motions to vote on those things.
Why I like to think if you are upholding a constitution and you're violating the Constitution blatantly, by the way, disregard and violating the Constitution, then what exactly is going on?
Yes, it was elected and ratified by the General Council. Wreck-It Ralph. It's so funny that the name is Wreck-It Ralph. It was ratified by the General Council. And then all of a sudden it was changed. And like I said, the composition, and I sent you the last thing that I forwarded to you. You see there the composition of those persons, the new committee, the new disciplinary committee, all of which have personal issues with Ronnie and Ralph.
Bottom line.
Then no, I would love to get to the charges against Ronnie, because these here now real sporty, for lack of a better term. He's real sporty.
Why not?
These real sporty. Let me find your chat again. Let me see if I could pull it up and send it back.
Charge sheet?
The charge sheet addressed to Ronnie, because we've read Steve's own. We've already said that those grounds for his suspension are meritless based on the evidence that I've provided. And we're now looking at the one against Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. Can you pull it up? Is the photo with it look like a crumple up?
Oh, that one? Oh,
yeah,
man.
those ones.
Okay, got that one. Oh,
July 26, 2024, right?
Okay.
Big long introduction. Let's move straight to the full particulars. So it says the full particulars for his suspension, basically. Failing to intervene as the General Secretary, Mr. Stephen D. Blackett, accused the Leader of Opposition and the political leader of the DLP, Mr. Ralph Thorne, of being untruthful in matters relating to correspondence relating to the Candidate Selection Committee. Now, we saw for ourselves that he was invited. He just didn't think that the committee was worth his time because it was illegal according to him or unconstitutional according to him. But he was invited. So why would Ronnie intervene when Steve is telling the truth? Number 2, failing to intervene as the General Secretary, Mr. Stephen Blackett, used language derogatory and insulting to the character of the said Mr. Thorne, namely, he is a liar, he is a stranger to the truth. Now, if someone is not telling the truth and you say that they're strangers to the truth, or you even go so far as to call them a liar, but they're not telling the truth, what are they then?
Well, I'll say this. Based on the information with the invitation documents that were presented here tonight, both of them, one to Mr. Thorne and one to Ronnie accordingly, and the emails that follow that you would have shared. Well, again, this is interesting because they're trying to indicate that they had no knowledge of what was going on in St. Lucia.
That there was no knowledge?
That they had no knowledge.
But we just showed today that they did have knowledge.
That's what they're trying to say. So, did Mr. Thorne come out since then and say, yes, he did get a letter? Did he verify that he got a letter?
Mr. Thorne has remained silent throughout this whole thing.
Say something to clear this matter up.
He has not come out and said, no, I haven't received the letter. And he has not come out and said, yes, I have received the letter. He's just remained silent and allowed this whole thing to just escalate and escalate and escalate.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Number 3.
Okay.
Failing to intervene as the General Secretary, Mr. Stephen Blackett, as a speaker, used language of an inflammatory nature, knowing and or intending and or being reckless to the likelihood that persons attending the said meeting would be incited to be disruptive to the said meeting and were consequently so disruptive. Now, I remember that meeting very well, and it certainly were not us that were disruptive when Mr. Blackett started reading out these things, because he was reading out the email. He read out the WhatsApp message, the same things I presented with you to you today.
Mm-hmm.
That side of things, Ralph's supporters, they were the ones who were disruptive. They were the ones saying, cut him, Mike, he's telling lies, you gotta stop with that. They are the ones who got emotional. Because sometimes the truth offends person.
Mm-hmm. That's
sometimes when you have this perception of a person and what you are hearing is not in accordance with that perception, it can be quite hurtful, I must admit. So I understand why they would get emotional and upset. But at the end of the day, the truth will set you free. The truth has a spirit of its own, That's right. The thing about the truth.
That's right.
And once you release the truth into the universe, it grows legs and it walks and it travels on its own. That's why I said I'm not going back and forth with nobody. I'm here to speak the truth. And once the truth enters the universe, I have no doubt that right-thinking members of society will see who's being truthful and who's not. I have no doubt, because Barbadians are not foolish. We are not foolish persons. So I know right-thinking members of society will know who to believe from who not to believe. Now the charges go on. There are 4, 5, 6 more charges. Failing to intervene. If you notice, none of these things were acts. All of them are omissions. But how can you ask someone to act and intervene when someone is speaking their truth? You'll be asking them basically to stop someone else from exercising their constitutional rights, and not Democratic Labour Party Constitution of Barbados, which is freedom of expression. You have a right to speak your truth. Also, if it is that you're saying someone defamed you, you take them to court. And then there's the defense of truth. No, you're a lawyer. You're a big lawyer, KC. If you felt so aggrieved, well, you didn't sue for defamation of character unless you knew somewhere along the lines that the defense of truth would prevail and your case would be unsuccessful.
And expose you. Let's look at number 5 here on this list. I think it's quite interesting.
Failing, you want me to read it? Failing as the president of the DLP and the chairman of the meeting held on the 21st of April, 2024, to issue a statement disassociating yourself or the DLP from statements made in an interview given to the media by the said Stephen D. Blackett as General Secretary of the DLP, knowing and are intending that such comments should be published unchallenged and that such published comments would be injurious to the interest, reputation, and general well-being of the party, namely since Mr. Thorne's admission to the party, blah, 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 right? Both sides, and this is where I can admit that both sides could have handled it differently, because I was always someone who did not believe in running to the media for every little thing. I always said that. Don't keep running to the media for every little thing, because the public is tired of the back and forth. The public is tired of the drama. The public is tired of the nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. I've been saying that all along. But both sides are guilty of that. Ronnie, Steve, and Ralph and his supporters, all of them, everybody does run to the media. So if it is that you're going to bring this charge against one person, then bring it against everybody. Don't pick and choose. Bring it against everybody. That's how I've always felt. If you're going to apply a rule, apply to everybody. Don't pick and choose unless you have an ulterior motive to remove the elected president and the elected general secretary, so you can then replace them with persons who you know you can control, who can then in the future act as your puppets. That's the only logical thing I have that is going to that explains the actions that have happened so far.
Well, I'll tell you what, this gentleman here, Mr. Cadogan is suggesting that Mr. Yearwood and Blackett went to St. Lucia in the conference and did not inform the leader, which is interesting. Maybe he's now joining. I didn't realize.
Yes.
Yeah, really, he didn't
I implore you, sir. I implore you to watch the video from the beginning. I can't go through it again because there's 300 and somebody people watching and 400 now. I can't go through it again. But I implore you to watch the video from the beginning.
Very much so. Very much so.
Come to your own conclusion.
Yeah. And if you feel at that point that you made these statements in error, do write a comment below, correcting yourself. This is politically incorrect after all, right? I mean, have the courage to do so and the integrity as well. Having said that, though, this thing, all these charges, like I said, and I did a presentation this last week in terms of the meeting and the press conference. And again, yes, they came out and they read it. And even Miss Dujon also had a lot to say about this as well. And I haven't said much about her tonight, but I will say this much. There's a clip that I have of her. I don't know if I should play that. That might be biased to some degree. I don't know. That might be injurious. So what I'll do is I gonna let that one ride. You
sparing her. You spare Miss.
Wait, hold on a minute. I ain't sparing a fella. My interest is one thing. I think this has gone so far that at this point, like I said yesterday, we need remedy. And I said this to the same gentleman, and I am sure he told it Mr. Thorne. In his presentation, he said this is beyond the point of negotiation. We're not negotiating, and so on and so forth, which I thought again was interesting, because what you're saying is that you've drawn a line, and who's in and who out stay out, which is funny because you keep saying this is what Barbados wants. This is what Barbados wants. I'm not sure who advising you, but I can play that clip again because I think this clip is very relevant. It just
Only advising you wrong. They can't be your friend.
They can't be your friends here. I think
Barbados wants a unified Democratic Labour Party, and the reason why they want a unified Democratic Labour Party is because right-thinking members understand that we need an opposition in Barbados, and unfortunately, Barbados, the history or the culture of politics in Barbados, they only recognize two parties: the Barbados Labour Party the Democratic Labour Party. So at the end of the day, that's why Ralph himself would have said he's leaving the BLP, he's crossing the floor, but he's going to do so in the confines and safety of a party. And that's why he made the application to join the Democratic Labour Party, because he understood. He understood that it would be hard to form a third party and gain support. He understood it would be hard to run as an independent and gain support. So that's why he came back over to the Democratic Labour Party and wanted to exercise being the leader of opposition within the confines and safety of the Democratic Labour Party. And we, Ronnie, Steve, all of us, we've never had an issue with that. We wanted to work with Ralph. I have had many meetings when we still had a shadow cabinet where we invited Ralph and he came and he sat. I won't go too much further into that because I'm not really here to try to paint him into a bad picture, but
right.
We tried to work with him. We tried. How much more you want us to try? If you keep getting slapped in the face over and over and over and over, how much more do you want us to take? We have tried. And it would be a miracle. I would love to see it happen if all of us could just get on the same page for the sake of the party. But for some reason, it's just not happening. I've never understood the issue because I've always said that the role of the president and the role of the political leader was separate and apart. They were separate. It is like when there was the creation of the Judicature Act. That's what I compare it to. When before there was law and then there was equity and they were delivered in two separate households or under two separate courts. And then there was the Judicature Act, which then brought them together. And there's a quote, I can't remember who said the quote, but it said that law and equity were two streams, which even though they would never mingle and they would never become one, they can just flow alongside each other and eventually they would meet in the big, wide sea.
Something of the sort. This brother here is saying that, Tyra, you are incorrect because Mr. Thorne addressed the St. Lucia issue at his first press conference. I think he made a mention about he had a conflict of interest because he was moved somewhere else or something along those lines and he couldn't attend. If that is indeed the case, though, that's not the contention. The question
Even worse then, because you're saying you never received the invitation.
There you go. That's my point.
If what you're saying is true, at our press conference, he said he couldn't make it, he had other commitments. That was the issue.
But that's my whole point. That's why I wanted to say to Mr. Cadogan. The issue wasn't whether or not really Ralph said or didn't say anything. My point is the indictment is supposed to be that Mr. Blackett and Mr. Ronnie did not inform him of certain things.
Correct. That's on the charge sheet.
Right. So the documents that prove and show otherwise. That is the only thing in question. Not
that's even worse. So you're even further proving my point then, because on the charge sheet it says that Stephen Blackett is guilty of not informing him of the St. Lucia trip.
That's why I said,
If you're saying that Ralph Thorne said that he couldn't make it, well then that means that the charges are even more bogus then.
Well, that's my point. Mr. Cadogan, I'm not sure if you're aware of Mr. Brong as well, might be in the same train of thought. You might want to go watch from the beginning. I don't want y'all to jump in here now and make assumptions, man, and then, make assumptions that, having me make assumptions, you know what I mean? I don't want y'all to do that. And all fairness to you and Mr. Thorne, and record, Ralph, I know that's you, Mr. Ralph Thorne. I think it'd be very clever of you. If it's you, though, that's, you ain't gotta be like that, man. I'm just saying, let us find a way, have a conversation. The platform is here. We spoke. You said you have no problem coming on the platform, and I'm going to hold you to that as a man of your word. You say you deal with integrity. You and I both know the conversation we had in the car park of the Frank Coleman Hall by the Central Bank. You and I both know. And in fact, the rain came again when, I bring the rain. But nevertheless, we're going to talk, Mr. Thorne. We're going to have a discussion on the same platform. We're going to bring Mr. Blackett and Mr. Ronnie as well. Why not? Let's have a conversation. But even invite Mia. Let's all have a conversation. What's in the best interest of Barbados? Because after all, as far as I'm concerned, all of y'all are the same. Full stop. Until we see differently, I'm going to support the youth going forward. New ideas and new vision. Because all y'all are proving yourself already from the 60s, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, I ain't forget 8% tax. I ain't forget that. I ain't forget the rice going up. That was in Lil Rick had his song on Peter Ram. I remember those days as a youth listening to them tunes, but the VAT and all this 8%, they put that back. I ain't forget, nothing has changed for the small man. The cost of living has gone up. Inflation is going up. Let's not pretend that Miss Motley is to blame. Yes, she borrowed a lot of money. All right. What are we going to do? Keep pointing blame and give another man a chance to do the same thing? They all do the same thing. Where Thorne get the money from? He can pull it out of a hole, a hat? I have not heard Mr. Thorne speak of anything he planned to do for Barbados other than the emotional push he's doing with the youth. All right, we understand that. A lot of youth are getting hurt in these streets. We're not going to use that as an opportunity to build a political career, though. Tell us what the plan is, Mr. Thorne. That's what we want to know. Outside of that, I ain't listening. Me personally speaking, we have our own plan. Shout out to Barbados National Congress, by the way. Shout out to BNC. Straight up, all they just plugging my thing they did quick. Shout out to Faye, the whole family. Y'all know who y'all are, man. Worldwide, man. We doing this thing. But they don't see it. We going to keep building. Barbados is a better place, not because of politics, but because of people are waking up. And you can't longer piss on all light and call it rain. People see what's going on. You locked those folks outside yesterday. I don't care if nobody wasn't threatening you. Nobody suggest. Well, I don't know that. Let me know.
No. And you pause right there. Make a pin. You raise an excellent point. Nobody ain't threatening you. You want to know why you raised that? I'm so glad you raised that.
Let me. What you do now, man?
The Barbados Police Service were present. They were present the entire time. They never left. In fact, their presence increased as the time went on. Mm-hmm. There were members of the Barbados Police Service inside of the meeting, outside of the meeting, and also around the perimeters of the premises of the Democratic Labour Party. No one was arrested. No one was removed. No one had to be, warned or whatever, put in handcuffs or whatever, detained, subdued, none of these sort. I am sure that if we were such a pack of disorderly criminals and renegades who were just causing confusion and we were all up in people's faces and I am sure the Barbados Police Service would have intervened. Yes. They did not intervene because no laws were broken. What you saw, or maybe you didn't see it, but what happened was a peaceful protest. Persons stood from where they were seated. They clapped and they chanted, "A motion is on the floor." And if you're now joining, a motion was put on the floor from a point of order. Mm-hmm. It was seconded. It was voted on by way of a show of hands. Head count. There was a head count. So somebody actually walked around counting the hands. And then it was recorded. And one of those motions was the reinstatement of Ronnie and Steve as president and general secretary of the Democratic Labour Party, because we wanted to play by the rules. Even though the suspension and the expulsion were unconstitutional to begin with, we said, you know what? We are not going to just go back, because there was nothing stopping Ronnie and Steve from doing what they did, which was changing the locks. There was nothing stopping them from doing that. Mind you, the locks were changed, and then the staff that was in the office, all of them were changed too. Just like the shadow cabinet, just like the disciplinary committee, just like the general secretary and the president, just like the person that serves the food. So it seems everything that existed before was taken out and changed.
Yep.
You understand? There was nothing stopping Ronnie and Steve from going back and changing the locks. Nothing. But Ronnie and Steve are not persons of that character. So they played it by the rules and said, we're going to wait to annual conference and have the membership, which is, once again, if you're not a member, annual conference is the highest decision-making body. We're going to leave it up to them to decide what they want to do. And the members voted, and a majority vote was done, and it was passed. The motion was passed, and it was only thereafter that Ronnie and Steve re-entered the premises of the Democratic Labour Party. They were not there before. They allowed these persons to go with their thing, talking about they can't come on the compound and the premises. They obey. They adhere to it, because that's who they are. They're not lawbreakers. They're not strife makers. It is only after the membership of the party passed a motion by democratic voting to reinstate them, that they appeared again on the premises of the Democratic Labour Party.
I would say that. I would no, go ahead, finish your point. No, finish your thought.
And let me make it clear. Walter Maloney did not snatch no mic out of nobody's hands. There's a narrative going out there that he did that. No, he did not. He did not. Even though Andre Worrell refused to get up and allow Walter Maloney to sit as the second vice president of the party after there was a motion from the floor which was passed to have him chair the meeting, Walter didn't interfere with nobody. That's what I'm trying to say. These are men that they are not strife makers. If it was the other way around, though, no, it would have been a whole different story. I can assure you that. And then to add insult to injury, because the Barbados Police Service, who, by the way, have more important things to deal with, a 12-year-old girl just got shot the other day. People are being murdered every other day, every couple of days. Persons out there missing, their illegal guns and drugs coming in all the time. The Barbados Police Service have better things to do than to adhere to the agenda of Mr. Ralph Thorne. But because he couldn't get them to remove us or arrest us or whatever he wanted them to do, he then goes to the media the next day and says how he's disappointed and that the Barbados Police Service failed them and which is not true. The Barbados Police Service, they listened to both sides. They heard the complaint. They listened to their side of things, our side of things. They made notes in their little notebooks. They had meetings to find out with several persons, but not just one-on-one, several persons to find out what is that really going on. You know, they asked to see our constitution. They try to understand our rules, try to understand our procedures.
In a civic matter.
And you understand, and then they came to the conclusion that this was a civil matter, which did not warrant the jurisdiction of the Barbados Police Service because they deal with criminal jurisdiction only. So unless you are about to commit a crime, you are committing a crime, or you have committed a crime, they do not have the jurisdiction to act. No, Joseph Cadogan, I do not have any personal issues with Mr. Thorne. I never had. Furthermore, he's my representative. I live in Christchurch South. I have no problems with Mr. Thorne. I have a problem with what he is doing. And I have never been a person to stand for foolishness. Ever. It's not in me. It can never be in me.
Serious.
I have to speak up for truth and justice. I have to. I'm sorry, but I have to.
But that's just it, though, you know. And 1 minute on this program, I'm accused of one in a red shirt. Next minute, I'm accused of one in a yellow shirt. I can't get it right for half the people. But here's the thing, though. What you can say, right, is that I didn't put the information out and give you the opportunity to see it and hear it for yourself. Because as much as we say this and, you know, bun fire upon the system and politician and politics, here's a reality I've learned. A lot of people I interact with on a daily basis still subscribe to this idea, still follow this train of thought. And so as much as I would like to advise people differently, in all reality, their families I know are being torn apart by this division within their own self, within their own ranks. And it's like, well, why not find a way to bring resolution and unification? Because if it is that we are talking about a Barbados or one Barbados, it should not take like what happened in Calico or Union or some disaster cause us to focus on a common issue, which is that none of us have anything left. And so to strengthen people at this point, to unify a party, even if it's people who don't believe in what I subscribe to as a Rastaman, even if it's people who disagree with me and my liberty, even if it's people I know that I understand this thing way better than them, we say we are brothers keeper, right? But yet we laugh at those who may not see it how we see it or understand it how we understand it. And there's a verse, and then not to get all religious, but it says, be careful how you make fun of the Gentiles because you're once like them. I find that people use consciousness and information as an oppressive tool. Like even when it comes to the the vaccines. And you know, a lot of people say people are stupid for doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. My thing is this. Well, you should thank God that you had knowledge that you didn't take it. But a lot of people took it for different reasons. A lot of people took it for fear. A lot of people didn't know. A lot of people got misled. A lot of people wanted to travel. Regardless of what, my point is the effects that it might or could have, if there was any to have or have, the fact is people are getting hurt. People, like you said, people are being injured. You don't have to agree with the youth on the blocks or whatnot, but the fact is there are a lot of youth who are out there getting hurt. It don't have to be my family. It could be your family. The fact is there are people getting hurt. People talked with the weather the other day, Hurricane, Beryl. Oh, it was a fake storm. It was a made-up storm. They made it, whatever. That might be all true as well. But my point is people are getting hurt. So we can look at one aspect and conspiracy. We could talk all that theoretical stuff. Thanks, Undine. But in all practicality, people are getting hurt. And if we as an individual or individuals claim that we have a higher degree of knowledge, that we're more empathetic, that we have the wisdom and all the know-how to do everything right, how can we see something going wrong, especially so wrong, and not intervene to bring it to a point of awareness? They say that you can't give people solid meat, you gotta get them milk when dealing with babies. So rather than try to show the obvious facts for those who are aware of how they feel about politics, hold on a second, Tyra. The thing is this, there are people, I saw them yesterday, like they said, I've been in this for 40-something years. She believes in this wholeheartedly. Why are you going to tell her that politics is a joke? She believes in it, and to have her go through this experience, the lady with the canteen, same thing. Faithfully work here all her lives, faithfully, loyally, be told and she can't this and can't that. These are things that disrupt people mentally, cause a breakdown, all kind of things, man. You know, so whatever we could do to bring remedy to a situation. Well, I'm a DLP, I'm not involved in DLP, I'm a member, paid or otherwise. This is not a DLP sponsored program or platform. Make that clear. It's just a matter of seeing something that's wrong, like the nurses not having health care, and we speaking on it. But Tyra, go ahead, finish your thought.
I see the comment here. I know y'all time you don't read comments, but so I have Joseph Cadogan asks, where were you with the child protection bill? Well, sir, let me tell you, I was actually in parliament before the Joint Select Committee. I and myself, Felicia Dujon, we were some of the very, very forceful voices out there who spoke out against the child protection bill. I also spoke out against the cybercrime bill, which protected these very same Marcia Weeks that apparently y'all are supporting from still having her platform. Because if we had not spoken out, that bill probably would have been passed. I was also the one who went out there and rallied for the rights of children and their parents when that nasty questionnaire and survey was administered on them. Facts. I was also out there that spoke against the ridiculous drill that they had at Springer Memorial School. Sir, what I would implore you to do is to check out my history. I have always been out there and I've always been very vocal when it comes to rights and when it comes to minority groups, underprivileged persons, children, the elderly, those persons, those vulnerable persons in society. I've always been there to fight for them.
Right? This is crazy. That is crazy because I remember you. In fact, I remember you putting it so eloquently at one of the meetings we had with Marcia Weeks when we joined up to do downtown. What was that in the in the square? Correct. And you brought a whole desk and chair and went to the law.
And it went through the law, and nobody didn't pay me to do that. Let me just say, I took time out of my day, right? Away from paying clients to come down there and do that and share that education. So don't come for me, sir.
Nah, I think what it is that people see you out here and make assumptions, and that's all right. Because that's when you put yourself out here, that comes with the territory, man. I get all kind of comments, inbox, all kind of stuff. So I ain't worried about it, man. I know what we're doing and why we're doing it, man. And so many comments I can't even get to half of them. Well, I wanted to. Go ahead first. I wanted to say.
I just want to mention a few more points before we get to comments because there are probably two more things I want to touch. The next thing is the General Council meetings. General Council meetings have always been in person. All of a sudden, there was a change, and it was said that General Council meetings are now to be held via Zoom. Now, the issue with that is when you are the host of a meeting on Zoom, you can decide who you're going to let in versus who you're not going to let in. The other participants can't see who's in the waiting room, so we wouldn't know who's being, not allowed versus allowed. True. In addition to that, when we entered these Zoom meetings, all of us were automatically muted. So you can't unmute yourself. You had to raise your hand, put a raise hand emoji thing, right? And then, and only then, if Andre Worrell felt like it, because he was the chair of these Zoom meetings, if he felt like it, he would unmute you to speak. And then when you were saying something that he did not agree with, you were muted. It happened. It happened to Trisha, the same Trisha Watson. Imagine a senator was muted on Zoom. And this is something that I witnessed with my own eyes and ears. Nobody can tell me. This is not hearsay. I was there, right? Was muted. And then persons like the same Undine, I'm sorry she's no longer here to attest or corroborate this story. She was muted as well, or stopped from speaking. She had her hands for about, it was 30, 40, 50 minutes. And then we protested that meeting because we were saying this meeting is not democratic. How is you have a general council meeting in which you're supposed to discuss things and you're being muted? And prior to that, right, let me tell you something. When Ronnie and Steve were chairs of the chairpersons of the general council meetings, there were many evenings that I went to headquarters and I sat and there was conversation, there was back and forth and disagreements and all kind of rancor. And Ronnie never silenced or kicked out or locked out or excluded anyone. These persons were allowed to attend month after month after month these general council meetings and cause all kind of trouble and noise and drama. And so there's a difference. You see the difference in style of leadership.
Yeah.
One person is allowing you to exercise your democratic rights, even though half the time what you're saying is really, it doesn't make sense. And it's irrelevant. A lot of times it was irrelevant too. It wasn't even things on the agenda. But anyways, he allowed you to speak. And then you have the other style of leadership when from the time you say something that is they don't agree with, they're silencing you. It then again happened at this annual conference when the microphone was unplugged, the sound system was unplugged because persons were speaking through a microphone, moving motions on foot you didn't agree with.
Well, here's the thing. Someone is, again, was that stream live? Because people are, well, I'm hearing somebody else is saying again that the meeting was not officially started. And this is funny because you outlined again, Miss Buntu. I don't know if you were here from the beginning, but Miss Tyra said basically that they had the whole prayer, they had the anthem, they had the whole bunch of, I mean, everything was put in place.
A prayer, it was officially called to order. This meeting is here by now, officially called to order. And then you have Ralph even admitting that the meeting had commenced, and then you have them saying that we interrupted the meeting. So as I said before, how can you interrupt something that never started?
Well, this is my point.
Be one thing or the other.
Hold on a minute. So this is my whole point right here. Why we doing this? You got people who are misinformed with disinformation and don't have disinformation because disinformation refutes that information. So despite people saying the meeting wasn't called to order, including everybody else, I go have to search for the footage because I'm sure there's a live stream somewhere when it first started.
I don't think there was a live stream. There was just the media that was present, and then obviously when the dancing started, they would have started
the media would have recorded that from the.
But I'm sorry that it wasn't a live stream. I wish it was live streamed. I wish it was live streamed because the media was. And like I said, they have two versions of events. One person saying it never started from their side. And then the other person saying it was interrupted and it was started. So somebody obviously not telling the truth cross there, or is it that they're confused, or is it that all two of them ain't telling the truth? I don't know which one it is. But you can't, I know one thing for sure. You cannot interrupt something that has not started. I know that point for sure. So pick sense from nonsense. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I guess what people don't want evidence. Like I said, cognitive dissonance is such, man, when you can't accept that this is truth. So you got to tell yourself it must be a lie. They got to be telling lies. So you're going to look for every way possible not to accept the truth. And that's what we as a people suffer from a lot. Cognitive dissonance. That's why these politicians, they're going to be straight right now, do what they do and get away with it over and over and over again, because no one wants to believe that. I mean, Miss Motley came into power speaking about the 14, where Alex Mitchell, I don't even think he on here tonight. I think it was the 14 billion or 20-something billion dollars in deficit that was reduced down to a few and back and forth. Well, wait a minute, 27 billion. They said the most money was borrowed under the previous administration ever in the history of Barbados. I didn't forget them things. And I can't forget that Ralph Torn. In fact, Ralph Torn was the one that acted, in fact, just because, right? I shouldn't even do it. I shouldn't do it, but I might do it. In fact, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it. I got a clip to play. I got a clip to play. In fact, wait, what time is it, Tyra? I don't do 3-hour programs. I mean, it's happenstance where that happen. I don't plan a 3-hour program. I don't even like talking so much. I talk a lot, but I don't talk too much. Let me play something real quick here, real quick. Let me look for it. In the meantime, in between time, we talk about Ralph Torn. This is not even a Ralph Torn thing. This is how people of Barbados and Black consciousness, how we keep failing our own people. A lot of these ministers are educated by the same colonial system that they cannot see the wrongs in what they're doing. They swear that what they're doing is the absolute right thing, and in most cases, it is not the right thing. It isn't the right thing, and it hasn't been the right thing for a very long time. But yet, we fight, we argue, we debate, we backbite, we make up stories, we fabricate, and for what? To make ourselves look good. The reality is, those folks were out there in the rain yesterday, in the rain and the gate locked, and you had people that are on the inside who claiming to be the right people at the gate yelling across the street. That was why when literally just standing there, badgering and yelling and insulting mature elderly, mostly women. In fact, there were a few men there. But for the most part, these are mature women. Mature women. Most of them, I think, are 60s or 70s. And you got men across the road under the influence of God knows what, yelling and screaming. I mean, sometimes vulgarity and profanity. I'm thinking to myself, Mr. Torn, this is what you condoning? This is what you okay with? This is a game you want to play. This is style of politics you are going to bring to Barbados, because Mayor Motley is a despot. We should heed the words of Mr. Oinatha at the parliamentary gate, that she is a despot. I wonder what Mr. Oinatha would have said about you.
Huh.
Perhaps we could look for that tape and see what surfaces. You know what I mean? Just asking for a friend.
Then they wanted to put voting electronically. Now, majority of our members in the party are aged, right? A lot of them are not electronically savvy and stuff like that. But not only that, you make that decision for yourself. You didn't bring it to the general council, you didn't bring it to the executive council, none of that. You just out of the whim decided that the meeting is now going to be, the voting, at the annual conference is now going to be electronic. And it's only because a complaint was made to the Data Protection Commissioner, and they responded saying that, members had a right to know where the data was being stored, how it was going to be collected, how it was going to be kept confidential, those things. And that was not done, that they decided that they were not going to go forward with electronic voting. But if that brave person had never notified the Data Protection Commissioner,
wow,
they would have done that. They would have just decided, and these people are making rules as they go along. They're making rules as they go along. And it surprises me because Miss Dujon, she was all about fighting for data protection and all of that when it came to the IDB survey. So why are you not using that same intellect to tell Ralph Thorne and Andre Worrell and Pedro Shepard and all the other decision makers that they are now that what they're doing is wrong? Why can't you not stand up for what is right and what is wrong? That's all it's about, You don't have to dislike somebody. You can love somebody very much and tell them what they're doing is foolishness. In fact, the best people to have around you when you're in a position of leadership are people that can tell you when you are doing folly. Because if you are a person that cannot take criticism and you only believe in yes men around you, you got a serious problem.
Serious.
And then when we do tell you you're doing foolishness, we're being called renegades and criminals and being locked out and expelled and all kind of no.
Well, I can play this clip right here, right now. Who vex? I'm telling you right now. They on and popping, man.
Do you recognize your country? Do you recognize your country tonight as we move into 2018, having endured the hardships of 2017? Do you recognize it?
Y'all ain't gonna like me
I
after
don't recognize it. The only entity in this country that recognizes it is the Democratic Labour Party, because they've taken us here. They have taken us into this abyss. So don't blame the engineers. Don't blame the police. those problems can be solved.
Yeah, Ralph.
I repeat to you, the major problem in this country tonight carries 3 letters, DLP.
What? What? Wait, Ralph, what? Yo, Ralph, you something else, too. I telling you, man, you a classic. And I can tell you something, right? I go make this. In fact, let me finish first. Let me say the rest.
No leadership. And for those who want solutions to the problem of the DLP, let us identify what is their problem. A lack of leadership, a lack of management, no accountability, no transparency in the way they do things. And my friend here to my right says no integrity. Well, that is obvious.
No integrity, well, that is obvious. I didn't even touch it. Somebody asked you, will you find that clip, Emmanuel? All I'm saying, right, these politicians, again, Black consciousness as a people, Tyrone, I told this to you before. That's what I'm going to say it again openly. In reality, the youth have to lead. They have to step up. I told this to Kimar up to yesterday. The youth have to step up. I ain't knocking the old guard, new guard, whatever they call themselves, I don't know. I recognize a few individuals I saw yesterday that I know personally aren't even fit to stand in the shadow of half the young people I know that trying their best to make a difference today. To Barbados young people. Everybody saying young people. Everybody crying out young people, young people, young people. But yet when the young people want to step up, what they all doing? Marginalize them, insulting grown men under the influence of all kind of spirits. And I mean that literally and figuratively, trying to dictate a path forward that they had the opportunity countless times for decades and couldn't pull it off. Suddenly seeming to be how, what? You've suddenly got an epiphany? Let the youths do what the youths came to do.
And there's the thing. And I'm going to end on this, not again, because you said 3 hours, whatever. I'm going to end on this. The purpose for me coming forward this evening is because of what you just said. Sometimes the young people need to take the reins and lead. Mm-hmm. I am tired of the misinformation out there. Remember, I am a member. I have been in this chaos, in this turmoil for the past couple of months. I am also seen speaking several times on the platform of the Democratic Labour Party. So understand that it serves me no purpose. In fact, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot by coming forward and giving you all this information. But you see, my thing has always been people. People, not party, people. So I want you all to know the truth. And that's why people can either hate me or they're going to love me for it. That has been the story of my life. There's no gray area when it comes to me. It's either you love me or you hate me for it. But one thing I will always do, I will always speak the truth, and I will always fight for justice and democracy. And I will not sleep well to know that I was a part of this whole fiasco. Mm-hmm. And I did not allow the members of the public to know what happened. If nobody else wants to come out and speak out against it or tell you what happened, that's a matter for them. But I can now rest well knowing that I did my part to try to inform the public about what has really transpired. So it is up to you now to decide, right? I'm not telling you jump on this bandwagon, don't jump on this bandwagon. I am merely asking you to please look at the information that I've presented, the facts, the evidence, everything I've presented to you this evening, and come to your own conclusion. I don't think it is fair for persons to want to trick or manipulate Barbadians. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's right. I've never been one to do it. That's why some people tell me I should stay out of politics. But for me, I think that a time has come where there needs to be persons who are put in leadership positions that deal with principle. Right. Principle, persons of principle and integrity, and fearless persons who do not have a problem with coming out there and telling the truth, even if it means that they have to speak out against their own party. Understand it.
Facts.
This is what I'm doing. I am never going to bow down to nothing that is wrong. I don't care who you are. I will speak out against it. That has always been me. That always used to get me in trouble in school, and is going to continue probably getting me in trouble. But the truth needs to be spoken. Like I said, the truth has a spirit of its own. And I have no doubt that the truth will set everyone free. The truth will set everyone free. Someone said I sound like an angry person. I am not angry. I am very passionate.
The Bible says they're angry.
When women are expressing their passion, we're often labeled as angry. And it's sad that we still think that way. Believe you me, I am not angry. I am disappointed. I am hurt. And I will not stand for foolishness. I will not. And what you hear in my voice is passion, because I genuinely care. I feel like if this whole thing is like I don't even know how to explain it. I just take it very personal when it comes to untruths. I don't like untruths. I don't. That's me.
Well, this question here by Mr. Wreck-It Ralph. I don't know if this is Ralph Doran. That'd be so crazy, Mr. Wreck-It Ralph. He said that, speak the truth then, Tyra. Were the standing orders or agenda ever adopted or amended? Did the chairman who started the meeting preside over any of the votes? Or was the meeting recess taken?
So when it comes to the standing orders, there was actually a motion also put on the floor, and it was passed regarding suspending the standing orders of the particular meeting. And prior to that, there was another motion which was passed in accordance with Rule 30. I can find it now because I don't want to tell any lies. 30.
So you're saying that
39F, which says to consider any other matter of which at least 30 days notice to the General Secretary, business of annual conference. Apparently that rule deals with the agenda, changing the agenda, I believe it is, right? So there were motions passed. What was done was very strategic. So there were motions passed before the motion for Ronnie and Steve's reinstatement so that everything would be in accordance with the Constitution. That much I know. I also know that there was voting done. There was voting. It was asked who's in favor. It was asked who's against. And it was asked
but wait a minute. The question is, did the chairman who started the meeting preside over any votes?
But remember, the chairman who started the meeting, remember, he was ousted in the sense that there was a motion which was moved and then seconded and then passed that he be replaced by Walter Maloney.
Right. So Walter Maloney was the fourth vice pres, was replaced by the second.
Correct.
Which is what it could have been in the first place.
Correct. And then that chairman, yes, he did preside over the.
That's why Wreck-It Ralph is clever, and this is probably Mr. I won't say that. This is clever because the question is because it's wisdom, and I see this wisdom. Did the chairman who started the meeting preside over the vote? Note the question. How the question is structured.
Started the meeting.
So he didn't ask the chairman preside over the voting. He asked if the chairman that
started the meeting. The answer there would be no, because that chairperson was replaced by way of motion, by way of a point of order.
That
motion was seconded.
That's allowed by the Constitution.
That is allowed by the Constitution. So this thing is very technical, right?
Okay,
so I love the usage of the words. Very technical. But the chairman who started the meeting, no, he did not preside over the votes because he was replaced by the second vice president by way of motion.
And the question is, the last question,
76 or so people voted in favor of that motion to be passed.
And the other one was the meeting recess taken?
I don't even know. He would have to clarify what that question is. What does he mean?
Wreck-It Ralph.
I don't know.
If that's your
or he means record. He might mean records. Yes, the records were taken by the same Walter Maloney because Pedro Shepherd, even though he continued to sit at the table, at the head table, he refused to record the minutes, if that's what you mean. He refused to record the minutes. So then Walter had to play both parts in being the chairperson and then also the secretary, because he had to then take the notes in terms of recording the votes of the motions, if that's what you were asking. I don't know.
Well, I this, we don't do this kind of things here, but tonight was a special occasion and there's so many comments. I'm scrolling. I'm trying to pick. I can't even. I'll read those afterwards for the most part. If I miss your comment, My apologies. Maybe we could do a whole night, just go through the comments. Maybe not. My thing though is that resolution at this point. And I asked the question yesterday. I answered to Mr. Blackett. I answered a few people. What can be done at this point to find the most amicable resolution for the sake of the whole of the Democratic Republic?
I would say this. In a perfect world, in a perfect, remember I said in a perfect world.
Let me hear this.
Everyone can let bygones be bygones, and we start over completely new, and we do what we ought to have done from the very beginning, which was political leader, focus on being political leader, and allow the elected president and general secretary focus on being the elected president and general secretary and handle the administrative affairs of the party until next year, August 2025, where there will be the chance to vote for a new president and general secretary. If it is that those persons in the party think that Ronnie and Steve are doing such a bad job, they have the right to vote for a new president and a new general secretary come next year, August 2025. Right? So if we could all, in a perfect world, if we could all just get along and focus on the business of the people of Barbados and focus on being a reliable opposition and undo all that has been done and let bygones be bygones and let's just all forget that all this has happened, then maybe, just maybe, the people of Barbados would decide to vote for us come next general elections. That's a perfect world.
Otherwise, it's 30 love again, huh? Like that'd be history on top of history on top of history. Like I can't, like I ain't gonna even front. Like, listen, man, just stick a fork in it. It'll be done. I think again that we need to look at resolution as a nation, and I think until we come to the point where we start to realize that it's only us, and all we got is us, and we gonna, like you said, in a perfect world. But guess what? We may not want to be, well, let me not say that. Let's not strive for perfection. Let's try to be real with ourselves and real with each other. I think that's a good place to start, because there are folks who, in fact, a lot of folks were enlightened tonight by this information, because I know a lot of people did not know.
I know they didn't know.
Backstory. They didn't know it.
I know they didn't know.
And so in order to make an informed decision now, ask questions. And in all fairness, Mr. Thorne, the platform, I told you, said you was going to come on the platform, and I never said that to people before. You and I had a conversation. I told you, you say you know who I am. You mentioned me in another program at some point in time, Politically Incorrect, and I was a bit surprised, to be honest. But this is not about putting a body on the spot. This is about keeping your word, and let me answer a couple of questions. Like, where are we going with this thing, man? Because we in this together, whether or not we like it or not, we on this vessel called Barbados. Whether you're conscious, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're gentle, you're Jew, whatever you are, we're here together. And if we can't coexist together and get along together, we can always have problems. So let me not look at our differences. Let's look more at what we have in common together, how we can work together, and just move forward as a people, one nation, one Caribbean. That is the whole idea behind Barbados National Congress. I ain't trying to hear no party, because don't anybody want to go partying. Anybody don't get invited to a party. But we're moving forward what's best for all, not what's best for some. We ain't dealing with that science. Those days are gone. We on the Aquarius. We don't know what time it is. Everything gonna come to light. So just a matter of when. Let me focus on how we can make it better for generations to come. Our children and our children's children. Use a man that always talk in the Bible, right? But here what God said, a good man is a man that leaves an inheritance. Not for his children, but for his children's children. Let me do this for the sake of the children and fix these issues. Tyra, I want to thank you. Give us a thought before you go. Let me think very quick. Don't go yet. Wait. Let me just check the file and see if I miss any important documents, because there were so many and all relevant, and I was in shock. I was rolling, really. I was in shock, because I was thinking, this can't be true, or this cannot be true. And there's so much I didn't even touch yet, though. I mean,
it's a lot of information, but my final thought, and I really want Barbados to really consider
resolution.
Really consider this, because remember I said in a perfect world, but we know the world is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
If it is that the DLP cannot get their house in order, I want you all to seriously consider giving those young persons a chance that you saw who were speaking on the platform of the Democratic Labour Party, who week after week after week came out there and risked their careers, risked their livelihood to bring truth and facts into the public domain and speak out against the injustices that this current administration were doing to Barbadians. I want you to seriously consider giving them a chance, even if they have to run as independents or if they have to form a new party. Because the reality is we need an opposition. And I've said this from day one, and I will continue to say it. Yes, there are parties in Barbados, but you do not vote for a party. A party is only a name. It is the people that make up a party. You vote for representatives. The candidates are your representatives. The individual person is who you vote for.
That's
not
right.
the Democratic Labour Party, not the Barbados Labour Party, because they have both failed you. They both failed us in one sense or the other. So you need to look at individuals, look at their principles, look at their characteristics and their characters. See if they're persons of integrity. See if they're persons of morality. See if they're persons who believe in truth and justice and what is right and what is wrong. See if they're persons who you can depend on. See if they're reliable. See if they're persons who really are passionate and care about people, or if they're just looking for a pick, right? We need to stop. And I remember someone told me this. We need to stop making popular leaders, popular people leaders, and make leaders popular.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like it. I like it. This record, Ralph, got a thing for you though. I don't know what going on.
All right, I love you too. Mwah. Have a great night.
I tell you, man. Listen, when you get a chance, go through the comments and see you can respond accordingly. Otherwise, family, we gonna just can't get to this. I just know I get to these comments. Just so many, and I definitely want to read them, but I'll do that after the program. What I would say, family, at this point is thank you for sharing your time with us, your space. Shout out to Undine Whitaker. Shout out to everyone that was there yesterday. And it was sad for me to see what I saw. And I just felt the need to say what I had to say. And so at this point, we're going to make a difference. It's not about pointing blames, but what can we do to make it better? That's my position, full stop. So again, shout out to Fade, the whole Fade family. Let's keep focusing, analyzing, developing, and executing. And shout out to Barbados National Congress. Remember, I keep telling y'all that. Pay attention. But we can see what happened. Anyhow, Tyra, you're welcome here anytime. You like, in fact, shucks, I was going, yeah, one of these days, we can do a whole, because they would keep calling me, ask me legal questions, and like, lady name, send me a number. So, them calls you get in sometimes come directly from the platform. We need to do like a legal night, because a lot of people have issues with landlords, issues with other lawyers. I mean, I actually got a case now against a particular lawyer, an individual. I know there's a difference between an attorney and a lawyer. All attorneys are lawyers, but not all lawyers are attorneys. That's another conversation. And there's a lot of people in Barbados masquerading as attorneys when they're just lawyers. And having said that, I said that to say that there are people I know right now. I even saw some yesterday. I'd be a little older now, but cases where I have documents that show them involved in clear, blatant fraud. I mean, like, what is this? Receipts, man. And I like, wait, boy, well, this is crazy. So I don't know, how we get to this point, but I know that we have to move from this point. We can't keep talking about corruption, yet we create a haven, Mr. Thorne. Yes, Mr. Thorne. We create a safe haven for men. And if I know that they corrupt to the point where they're doing these fraudulent documents, well, you will go no more than me, Mr. Thorne, because that means your peers are outside the gate like the renegades. I don't mind being a renegade, though. That's the difference. That's all right. But anyhow, Tyra, thank you for coming. And then again, and those who came online and made their comments, contribution. Shout out to Sharon, definitely positive people working in the ministry. I'll leave it at that. Shout out to everybody else, moms, the matriarch overseas. Although I didn't see you on here tonight, I hope all is well. Shout out to the family in the North Americas, Atlanta, Miami, New York. Shout out to New York, for sure. Shout out to the rest of the Caribbean, what we're dealing with. Shout out to whole Africa. I mean, folks, wherever you are watching, we give thanks, but we're looking for solutions. It's about solutions and going forward. So that's what's up. The number on the screen, you need to reach me. If I've been incorrect, call me and correct me. If Tyra incorrect, you know how to find her. Outside the Democratic Liberal Party locked out. So she ain't hard to find. She not inside. She outside. She outside. So that's what's up. But anyhow, that's it. I got a tune I want to play though. I got 2 tunes I definitely want to drop. This is where most of the folks start to wean off and we just do a little reggae thing. But I got 2 tunes I want to play. I have a new anthem, but I gotta play this one first before I play the new anthem. And it's only right. So I can go and share the screen real quick, Tyra. But thank you for your time and your service too. Let me just add that.
Pleasure.
I heard 2 people writing about, oh, that's why you can't run this area and run that area. You see what I saw? We ain't even bringing the solutions to the table. Y'all not even bringing legitimate questions to ask honest questions. Y'all just want to ridicule somebody young for speaking the truth that she has felt and experienced firsthand. Imagine that folks will actually write comments here negative towards you. And it's like, you know what? Even if that is the case, the fact that, lady speaking the truth that she experienced, I mean, you wasn't, unless you was there and you would say, well, she's here fabricating the whole story. Are you just going to get up and decide just to write a comment and just try to diss somebody just because, like, come on, man. For real? Somebody saying, look, as much as they say or try to diss you, somebody say, thank you, Tyra. There's more love than hate, man. Somebody tell you to ignore Wreck-It Ralph, man. Wreck-It Ralph. We gonna make you famous, Ralph. I got a feeling as you and or Ralph. I ain't sure, but I feel as you, Ralph. I feel as you. The funny thing is, I said it a few times and you have not responded that it is not. Just for the record. As subtle as it is, I don't miss them little things. The chairman who started the meeting preside over any motions. You see, Ralph, I feel as you and or Ralph. I feel as you, man. You got to stop with that, man. Be more courageous than that and come on the program. I see Mr. Blackett on here earlier. Have a heart, man. Anyhow, family, I can't go through all these now, but we gonna go. Let me just drop this tune real quick so that we can get the rhythm going, man. Guess what song I found? Of all the tunes I could have found, man. Of all the tunes I could have found. Guess which one I found, family.
Which one you find?
All at stake. Oh yeah, now. All at stake. My destiny will I'm not renegade survivor. I'm new age warrior. And I'm shocking the universe, searching for the future. Yes, I'm a renegade survivor. I'm new age warrior.
Renegade survivor.
You're not giving my theme song for my campaign, man.
What is out there, I don't know, but I plan to hide my fears. Danger lies along the way, but my way to survive is there. Hunted by the evil ones, I'm not chased by my enemy. Like refugees and castaways in a hostile environment.
I'll pull out you, man, for the top, man. Jackie, here we go, man. Look, renegade survivor. I need renegade for you, for you, Dean. For all y'all up there, yes, steady ram points, getting spoken right.
Oh, yeah.
Hold firm.
All that's
Hold firm for it ain't what they call you. It ain't what they call you, family. It's what you respond to, man.
I'm a renegade survivor. I'm new age warrior. And I'm shocking the universe, searching for the future. Oh yes, I'm a renegade survivor. I'm new age warrior. And I'm shocking the universe. Oh now, searching for the future. What is out there, I don't know, but I plan to hide my fears. Danger lies along the way, but my way to survive is there. Hunted by the evil ones, I'm not chased by my enemy. Like refugees and castaways in a hostile environment. Well, I'm a renegade survivor, a new age warrior, charting the universe. Oh yeah, searching for the future. Look at that. Oh yes, I'm a renegade survivor, a new age warrior. Oh now, and I'm charting the universe, and I'm way searching for the future. No, we know to call your friend, for survival is the key. Be careful. Your mission is to find a way and defeat them at their game. Oh, now, hunted by the evil ones, not chased by my enemies. Like refugees and castaways in a hostile environment. Oh, yes, I'm a renegade survivor, and I'm a new age warrior. Destiny revealed in the universe. Oh yes, now searching for the future. Oh yes, I'm a renegade survivor. All is at stake. A new age warrior. And I'm trying the universe. And I'm searching for the future.
From the universe, searching for a future.
Don't worry.
Can't give up, family. Don't give up.
I'm a renegade survivor, a new age warrior.
That's right, that's right.
And I'm traveling the universe, searching for the future.
Campaign song, man.
Survivor,
campaign song, man.
A new age warrior. And I'm traveling the
You cannot make this stuff up, family.
searching for the future. Oh yes, I'm a renegade survivor.
Hold firm, family. Barbados, hold firm. Dlp, Driver P, hold firm, family. New age warrior, man. They want change, right? But guess what, family? One thing in life that is constant indeed is change, man. And there's only one way we're going to achieve it, man. So for those who know already, I ain't got no more t-shirts to give away tonight. We had some t-shirts given away, Tyra. Politically incorrect shirts, man. Folks, man, look, hardest thing on the press right now. But those already know what tune I going to play, so I ain't going to even tell you, man. What's your point, man?
Y'all can make it.
Politically incorrect, man. Togetherness. Togetherness, man.
We can make it work.
If we come together
and make it work.
Well, Torn, this is what leadership is about, man.
I'm telling you that we can make it work.
The meat and the tear got to grow together, Torn. Only God decide who separate, man. Not you.
You see, too much of the slacky tidy business.
Too much slacky.
We need to see more reality. Open the people eyes to truth and justice. Sing songs that bring memories so we
can make it work, Torn. If we come together
and make it work.
Don't feel that up, Miss Smartly.
I'm telling you that we
can make it work, Mia.
And if we come together,
one Barbados family,
we can make it work. You see, too much of the jump up. Too many of the wine and stuff. Too much of the fine pie you make. Soon one day you're gonna run out of luck. So we can make it work. And if we come together and let the music work, Lord of mercy, telling you that we can make it work. If we come together, we can make it work. We gotta break it up, shake it up. We gotta break it up, shake it up, and make it up for the younger generation. So help me sing a song. We can make it work. And if we come together, we can make it work. Crowd of people now, we can make it work. Be more realistic and make it work. We gotta work it out, work it out. We gotta work it out, work it out. We gotta get them out, get them out. We gotta
listen, get them out, right?
You see, too much of this tacky business. Yes. We need to see more reality. Too much of the jump.
You need your voice in Parliament, Tyra.
And the wine and stuff. Too much of the fine for your mate.
If God will have it, so won't it be.
People have spoken.
Can make it work.
Politically incorrect.
If we come together and make it work. Sing it out. We can make it work. If we come together.
It's my new anthem right here, yo. Don't get started with it though. This is my anthem right here, man. This is the point we dealing with, family. Togetherness. Division is of the devil. We ain't here to judge a fella. I ain't know who right or who wrong. I know that right is right and wrong is wrong, though. So that's what we're dealing with. So having said that, we push forward. Shout out to the Fade family again. You know what? I ain't gonna leave you out, Miss Critchlow. This is one of my favorites here, man. I can't. She ain't no joke. I mean, First Lady, her husband, man. Shout out to Kevin too. Straight up, man. First family of Fade family, Barbados National Congress. Y'all know who y'all are, man. Great people, different people, and that's the whole point. We can't wait for permission to do what God called us to do. Find your purpose and fulfill your purpose. You don't need no permission from nobody. Somebody messaged me about I want ratings. I want ratings. Go check my Facebook page. I got over mainly about 15 million views already. Go check my history, man. You ain't know nothing about me. You ain't know nothing about me. I ain't no come out, been out. It's for the people. Not even just Barbados, but the whole region. Specifically in extension, the world, man. We warn people, and that's the language we speak in, man. If you ain't about that life, man, then that's all right. That is all right. We here together. So I said thanks again, man. Look, y'all give thanks. We gonna talk Barbados National Congress, and we gonna go forward, man. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Tyra, I gonna tell you, enjoy your vacation. Enjoy your vacation. Recharge.
Yes, I'm going to recharge and I'm coming back stronger than before. Best believe it.
I got folks saying they're ready. Listen, family, we gonna talk. I'm telling you, man. Listen, Barbados is in for a rude awakening so soon. I could almost feel it. Like St. Vincent, you know, when Kick and Jenny decided to wake up, everybody just stand up. Barbados in for a rude awakening. Remember, I told you all that, man. Family, we out. Tyra, tell Undine and the others if you could reach forward and let them know again. We said thank you. We all send our love. We send our love to everyone. And again, this is not a political thing. It's a right and wrong. And I cannot, in my right mind, watch people in a situation of need. Elderly want to use the bathroom. People soaking wet, thunder, lightning. I mean, it's road almost floodway. And men out there hurling insults and people locking gates. I'm thinking, you're comfortable with this? We are so sick mentally as a people, we don't even know how sick we really are, man. And we can see these things and be okay with it. And then nobody can say, well, Ralph, you know, I know you had a little disruption and thing, but let me see if we could talk to them and see if we could at least, let me just at least have even if we pause the whole conference for a second, take an extra day just to have a little one-on-one dialogue amongst each other. Even if you yell and scream across the floor, let me talk. Nothing so. We just gonna go on as if business as usual. The whole thing falling apart. You gonna pretend you don't see that, Ralph? You just gonna pretend it don't exist? Are you mad? That's my British accent. I just gonna put one more on again, family. I just want to do it.
Only advising you wrong.
I just want to put that up there. Having fun. Anyhow, family, we out. Tyra, I'm gonna holler at you in a bit. Thanks for coming on. Politically Incorrect. I can do my little thing here before I spin off, but to be continued. Yes. Thanks again.
Respect, manners and respect, everyone. Good night.
Full 100. Oh man. You cannot make this stuff up. What time is it? 3.5 hours. I have not done that since probably Beryl. or one or two other instances. But we had it in the past. We do occasionally. But the point is, family, you got food for thought tonight. It's time to go and do the dishes now. You got food for thought. Somebody got to wash the dishes. Go back over it. The information is posted here, and go see for yourself and send some to Ralph. You know, y'all the screenshot sometimes and send the message around. I thought Emmanuel call your name, and then go ahead and send Ralph a clip and ask him, did you get a letter? Did that the case that the charge y'all brought are partly fabricated? And if so, why would you, Ralph, a lawyer, allow these individuals that support you to fabricate charges? You can't say you didn't know, because I'm sure they ran it by you. And if they didn't run it by you, what kind of order you running? So either way, you're between a rock and a hard place. So you can got to do some due diligence and kind of check this, because if what young Tyra is claiming is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, like she said, it's going to make us free. And therefore, it's going to spot back the light at you. Just clarify it, Ralph. Sorry, pardon me, Mr. Thorne. I try to be respectful always because I had good upbringing. But I've also made some almighty decisions, and I try not to do so. But in the interim, let me see how best we could bring some resolution. The key is resolution to this situation, so we can start going forward to make changes to the Barbados that you say you want to make, and everybody else who want to make changes, and let me make it better. All right? That's my 2 cents for the night. There's so many comments. Again, we can't do this. We're going to do that another night for sure. Jackie, you already know what time it is. Somebody say well-spoken and confident Tyra. Tyra, you got to go to this when you get a chance. The people love you, man. We need fresh leaders. Again, everybody's singing the same song, man. Yes, passion for that. They did not believe me. Yeah, they think you angry when you're not, all because you got to speak from your heart. You know what I mean? And it's like, come on, man. New age warrior, indeed. Yeah, that's what time it is, man. You say Rasta say he not political, but he more political than most. I'm not political, my brother. I'm into governance and good governance. Haile Selassie first, the Almighty, man. That's what I deal with. So in the politics, tricks or politics. Strictly governance and good governance. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're dealing with. So I see you, Jal Biz. We want 29 more like Tyra. Cheat on bread. I'm telling you, man. These things will be brought to the public. Yeah, we're going to get it clear, man. Say manual technical. Nah, don't start me. Look, family, I out. Otherwise, I'll be here all night. Give thanks for, like I say, your time again. It coming together, man. Yes, we love you too, family. All is well. Aubrey, shout out to the family. Y'all already know what time it is. It's time to step up for sure. You Fest 246. Yes, celebrate change. We celebrating change. You know, people go through it is the legacy lived by those who are considered old people. But listen, you know, I don't want to say old, but the elders, you know, living a lot of young, we losing a lot of young people these days at young age, man, young age, and to live to be a certain age is a privilege in these days. So we respect all the elders, all of them. That's why I could not watch my elders yesterday in that rain and not say nothing. I can drive past and see that. I had to come and ask a question like, what's going on? And so I heard, I saw, and I conquered. Rastafari. Family, again, y'all know my tune. I go and pull that up real quick again. Let me probably go on the wait. Let me get that tune. Yes, here it is. Light play, man. I need to last the first Empress ceremony. One perfect balance. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night, 8 p.m. family. Politically incorrect. Let me get it correct. If we're not correct, my number on the screen, call and tell me, man. We can make this work, family. We can make it work, man. One Barbados family. Shout out to my special family I met today at lunch. That's all I can say, though. I give thanks to both of you. I love the universe, man. I love the gods, man. I know y'all love me too, you know. Humility, man. Rastafari. And it's Selassie the first, man. Empress Menin. One perfect balance. No worries, Andrea. I got you covered, Andrea. You can't stop it, man. It's funny pictures, man.
Y'all can make it if we come together.
Funny party.
Come together. We can make it work if we come together and make it work. Telling you that we can make it work. Be more realistic and make it work. You see, too much of the slacky tidy business. We need to see more reality. Open the people eyes to truth and justice. Sing songs that bring memory so we can make it work. If we come together,
You make it work, family.
and make it work.
Reiterating it again.
I'm telling you that we can make it work. And if we come together
Back to the screen, you know.
and make it work.
I ain't gonna be switching. I can't see what going on.
You see, too much of the
I gonna get another screen, fam.
too many of the wine and stuff. Too much of the fine for your matey. Soon one day you're gonna run out of luck. So we can make it work. And if we come together and let the music work, Lord of mercy, telling you that we can make it work. If we come together, we can make it